Hello, 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 everybody. My name is the Sid, and this will be our first attempt at a actual consistent random encounters. The idea of the show is we would like to show off some stuff for about 2 to 3 hours, and our inaugural show, we picked Rebirth, since I actually know a little bit about it, and we picked somebody that knows even more about it, Closetowar. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. People know me as Closetowar. A lot of people just call me Vince, Vinny, whatever you want. I run RPGs. I prefer to route rather than run, so I don't get around to running a lot. But this is a game that I ran remake, and when this came out, I wanted to jump on it right away because I think that's the best time to route is right when it comes out because everything's new. No one knows anything. Yeah,
the practice and routing, that stuff is the funnest part. Doing runs ends up getting pretty boring pretty quick. You're banging your head against the wall.
Yeah, I think it's like as soon as you start to really improve and you get to like a certain level where you don't even need to practice anymore, then it's kind of you're just grinding out and you're on the grind set.
Yep. All right, boss, please hold still so I can kill you. Did you have a place? Go ahead.
I chose the start of this in chapter 1 to kind of start what this is. Just to kind of show an introduction to the game a bit. People that don't know it. We're going to be avoiding spoilers as much as we can. That's why I started my save here.
Yeah, mercifully, they give us a lot of cutscene skips.
Yeah, and there's like a difference compared to remake here. This is a little more, not open world, but you have the freedom to kind of jump around like this, and we can really make use of the terrain. We don't have a use for an out of bounds yet, but there are places where you can go out of bounds by doing this kind of, because when you start to go off track, the game gives you a warning and you can't really do anything, right? But if there was like a warning here, you could in fact hop past it. And we don't have a use for it yet, but in the demo, for example, people did find out that you can in fact backtrack. Like this game did have 2 demos. It had this segment, so people play demo, they know this part.
Yep.
The game is pretty gorgeous. We have a little bit of control over like the options, not a ton. I would prefer to have a little more camera control. Which I'll get into why later. Like it actually is a little problematic for me in particular because of my camera
I had the settings screwed up where it like auto adjusted to the enemies. So when I was trying to do movement, the camera would just be like, no, you're not going to look that direction. Luckily, one of the other runners told me to turn it off. Yep. Nothing like the camera going, no, you are looking backwards, buddy.
Yeah, so at the start, we're introduced to Finance Cloud. You get so many of these tutorials. They're kind of obnoxious. They just get in the way. They still didn't learn from Remake to give us an option to turn them all off. But we have our operator, which this circular move, this is our cleave. I just referred to this as cleave. We have ATB abilities, which we can have one shortcut, Or you can use the tactical menu, which is like the slow way, but sometimes you need to do that.
Need the time slow.
And then this... So this isn't that particularly important, but we get this red ring. And when you activate this, you do get a little bit of ATB. It's not as good as First Strike, but then again, First Strike materia was heavily nerfed compared to Remake. Even if you have a level 3, it doesn't even guarantee an ATB. It's so bad.
900, that's it. Get out of here. Better roll high.
But we can initiate our battle with this. And this, I would never use Punisher here because of this grouping, but... depending on how things are, we don't have like a set plan for mobs. It's more like look at the grouping and then kind of decide what you're doing. And here I would just normally Braver, but if they're far apart, I would go into Punisher here, which changes our attack, and I would Berserk and do some stuff. But our Punisher combo has changed from part 1. We do all these swipes instead of the big old combo. And a lot of people didn't like it at first, but it's okay once you get used to it.
Yeah, you got to get used to it. One of the things that's actually like a big change is that the move you were talking about with Cleave, I call it Spin to Win. That used to push enemies away, and now it sucks them in, which is like one of the best changes because it actually gives you control of enemy placement.
I don't even remember that, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, in Remake it would shove enemies away, and you'd have to use, I think, the parry materia to get that one that actually pulls enemies in.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or deadly dodge.
Yeah, DD. So speaking of DD, we do have aerial enemies, of course, like you did in part 1. A few more, but they did make the combat a little bit better. It's not what I'd call perfect by any means, but it is better than what we had, which was in Remake, you jump up and swipe a couple times, and if the enemy moved, well, that sucks.
Yeah, and on top of that, you'd fall like a brick after your combo was over, and that's it. No other options.
Yeah. So, I won't hand as I do, but if you dodge and then mash here, or just hold, you go aerial if you hold after it. But here, this is DD. This is deadly dodge. This is what we used to use, depending on how you played the game. I loved deadly dodge. It was for a couple of fights in particular.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I love that they give you long range attack to the attached to the roll. Unfortunately, it kind of hampers your optimal movement compared to Remake. But the fact that you get long range attack attached to Cloud is really nice. Some of the other characters obviously are already long range, but this is a really nice change.
Yeah, and there's ways to make it work. We'll get into that when we get there. But like with arrow, like if you're just trying to fight, you'll be on the ground, and that kind of sucks. But if you're holding, you'll go into the air and you'll be attacking, and you can dodge in the air, you can dodge on the ground. Of course, we have our blocking, we have our perfect guard mechanic, which is new to this version, which is if you guard within 0.17 seconds of an attack, or if you use Cloud's Punisher, you'll get the immune, which would be as if you took damage, but you didn't. And the reason I clarify like that is because if you were to gain limit or ATB, etc., you'll still gain it, even though you didn't take damage.
Yeah. The immunity is really weird. You take no damage, but the game still calcs for limit and some other factors. So it's actually, perfect guarding is really strong in this game.
Yeah. Clouds is a bit janky because a normal guarding here... Hold on. I'll wait for him to charge. A normal one would just be this one hit, and it does pretty decent damage. It got way buffed compared to Remake, but if you see there, it did less damage, but he did more hits, and he does more damage overall, but like that animation takes longer. So in some situations it's better, some it's not. In a situation where you would be guarding multiple times in a row, it's not great.
I mean, the cool part too, if you like mash the Punisher, you like side swap too. So if you do the counter and then Punisher out, you'll swap sides. There's a lot of cool movement to this game. Yeah, we also have our, okay, right here. We'll use this as an example. What we mean by that, I just call it like the pass-through thing. You guard, and you press triangle, and you go through and get a bunch of ATB. It does decent damage. Also, if we were to use an ability, like Braver, and then press triangle, it's gonna die. But if you're in Punisher... Go ahead. I didn't mean to hit that. I mean, everybody wants to hit it with Braver, but nobody ever does. So that was a bad luck moment.
But if you're in Punisher and you use a weapon ability with Cloud, this is the Braver triple slash, or if you played Remake and ran it, then you know it is maybe Tripolowski, which is a little goofy name we gave it. After you use that and you press triangle, you actually do that pass-through attack. It's very strong. It has 50 cut. This game has what we call a cut and keep mechanic. Same as Remake. Your keep is your ability to not get knocked out of what you're doing, and your cut is the ability to knock an enemy out of what they were doing, or to pressure them depending on the enemy / boss. Which we'll go into that more. Most abilities have 50 cut and 40 keep. Most. There are some that are stronger that have 60 keep, and some, like the August, which have like 60 keep and 70 cut. Very powerful. Here we can move a little faster if we're pressing circle and triangle. We're just switching out Or more relevant later is if you're attacking and dodging out. That's why sword's going green. But Cloud's movement is not that great. Later on, we get the rest of our crew, which is like Tifa and Red is the fastest. If you're doing dodge attack to cancel animation,
it was very hard important to accept that Red was faster than Tifa.
I know. At part 1, you would get parry, and you just hold guard and mash circle, and Tifa would just fly.
Oh,
it was incredible.
It was hilarious because, like in Intergrade, she would start sneaking into the actual floor because all you had to do was hold down the uppercut and parry, and she would schmoove. You like it. The amount of like how fast she could move would save massive chunks of time to the point where hard mode keeps parry equipped the entire run and never takes it off her. Not for a second.
Yeah, this game does not have the parry materia, but it is built into our movesets. Kind of. Like when we dodge, it does actually do damage, but not much.
It's a good thing because I think like a lot of people didn't even use parry. And the fact that it's like replaced with the perfect dodge or perfect guard materia, whatever it is a lot more useful by expanding that perfect guard window and giving you more ATB and stuff. And also increasing stagger on enemies. Like that does some work on Dyne if it actually...
The precision defense materia. I don't have... my Dyne, I can show it. I'll demonstrate it. But I'll have a level 1. I won't have like the... anymore, but it's pretty funny what it looks like when you do it multiple times in a row. Precision defense, it ups the window from 0.17 seconds to 0.23 seconds. It's not great, but it is something, I guess. But that extra stack is really useful. I don't use it in the run, though. It's money to me.
Yeah, I mean, like in hard mode, it would be more so the extra ATB I'd be concerned about. This little guy here.
This is an enemy which, depending on your ATB, you do different things. But you gotta fire first to pressure him, and then you can kind of just do attacks or braver or fire or whatever and clean him up. But sometimes at the start of the fight, you go to get in and he just hits you, and then you go to do Punisher. But because you got hit, your import will get eaten, and you'll actually guard, and you'll get a perfect guard and send him flying backwards, and it's awful.
Yeah. Perfect or Punisher is really weird too. I'm not sure if it's this. I'm pretty sure it's the same in this one, but I know in Remake that between switching to Punisher and then the guard version where it like would give you the Punisher no matter what, there was like a tiny gap where you could get knocked out of it, and it was so infuriating.
Yep, you can still get that here. It's like 1 or 2 frames, I feel, but sometimes it feels like it's more. It's like halfway through the animation.
It hurts. It hurts so much because you're just like, well, fight's over. Cute.
Yeah, and on normal, that's especially punishing because you take a lot of damage, and that's just part of the nature of it. This game is different than Remake. You had a lot of forced encounters. Here, you don't have a whole lot until like really Endgame, until chapter 13, pretty much. You might have to do a few fights here and there. As like the game's way of kind of letting you get some levels and stuff. But it's more of a boss rush compared to part 1.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was learning this on easy and 16 on easy for the relay. And like on 16, the top level's 50 on the first playthrough and you end at 41. And this one, you're not nowhere near that close. You're like halfway through your levels by the end of the game.
Yeah. Probably like maybe... I guess casually you might be like level 50, and then but in a run it's like 40 something, halfway like 45. Like we barely get 45 on normal, and the cap is 70, I think.
Yep. The game has a lot of depth though. It's really fun. The one thing that was funny getting used to is like normally in a replay you get healed on every chapter entry. This game only heals you when you hit the ends up. This right here, I remember somebody telling me that like the game likes to eat your inputs when you try to cast spells with the shortcuts. And I'm just like, I don't even know if I want to put magic on my shortcuts.
We do have a bit of a change compared to part 1. I don't think I can do a whole lot of menuing here, but the menus are very slow. And like if you want to go into materia, you press the triangle and then you go through these menus and do what you want, or you go into the big menu, which is this one. And this would list out your characters and you could switch materia around and stuff. But either way, you see this, this black screen, and it's really slow to menu. That's why like easy doesn't really do a whole lot of menuing, from my understanding.
We avoid a lot of the folio too.
Yep, we avoid as much as we can, but normal, well, we have to do
Yeah,
a bit
you need
more.
a lot. Folio has a lot of good stuff, but like it's just not needed and easy because you can use the team attacks. But go ahead.
Yeah, so you do get to play as Sephiroth, of course, here. He's got his different attacks. He's got his big old combo. He's got big wide swings. He's very strong. He has that thing at the bottom left, his triangle, which is where you see the aura charge. And he has a dash, which he can just teleport to enemies. Unfortunately, I can demonstrate this mechanic later, but if he's in the air, he can't do the instant drop, which I'll show later when we get to the boss here. But if you're in the air and you press neutral circle, you'll just drop down the ground.
Yeah.
Once the meter is full, you can do different combos. You have this Pierce, which is not very great. You have the meter goes away if you get hit. That's also important. But the biggest one is you do the full combo and you do Telluric Fury. It's a lot of ATB. It gets some limit for him. We don't care about that. And it's good damage. Or you dash and press triangle, and that's a circular ability. We don't normally do that here. You just cast a Magnify spell. If we look at his materia, you see that he's got all this materia. He's way better than us. He's got, I forget what the Fortitude Ring does.
It's 50-50 on Fight and it's Fight and Spirit 50 points. It's a really bad Karmic Cowl plus.
Yeah. He's got his Revive. He's got healing. We don't care about it. He has Wind with Magnify. He has Lightning with Magnify. Everyone is always doing Aurora with Magnify, but recently I changed it to Thundara with Magnify. If you're in easy, you should absolutely do that. The animation's quicker. When you use a Wind ability, it kind of hits the enemy first.
Yeah.
It like hits them, and then it comes in with the second hit, and I would do the damage and pull. Arrow has been mag buffed. We'll go into that later. He has Fire with nothing on it. Wind
is nice because it has AoE, but Lightning doesn't. So there's kind of like a give and a take to it. But Lightning hits instantly is the big difference.
Yep. Basically, on normal with these enemies, you'd hit them 3 times each one, and then you do a Magnify Thundara, and you kind of just switch the cloud and go forward to where you need to go. But if you're too close to this cave, he'll actually do this really slow, like turn around and look like this way, and it's awful.
I do that like on purpose just because it's funny. But yeah, you can like parry through the invisible wall as it goes away, and then the game will spin you around and be like, "Hey, you should go in that cave you're already in."
I know. I actually had a problem during a run in the village where I did this and I was going towards where I had to go, and then the camera spun me around, and then I'm like, wait, where's Yuffie? Because it's where you have to follow Yuffie.
I love this movement right here. Yeah, go ahead and explain it. I'm not going to take your thunder.
Yeah, that is, I did show that a little bit, but that's when you're doing the attacking and canceling with dodge. You just, you press square and circle. We're not in battle, so it looks bad.
Yeah, it's the free parry materia cancels out his shift move, so you can just spam it over and over again. It's a pretty decent rhythm. It's not really that hard to do. Yeah,
it's really quick. Too bad there's not much more use for it.
Yeah, I wish we had somebody that was like that in the main game. That movement is so fast.
You do have to make sure to get him out of the way. If an enemy is in the way, you'll get stuck.
Yeah, there's the enemies that can stick you, and then that one guy, if he shouts, it will stun Sephiroth for a bit, so you're pretty much going to have to YOLO it with Cloud. And even in hard mode, Sephiroth's stats here are ridiculous, even with a maxed out Cloud. He's probably still better. The other funny thing, too, is he also gets a different set of materia as well in hard mode. He gets a little bit different. I think he gets, like, the ones from the challenge. So he has like wall and some like re-revive and stuff, and loses a lot of his magnified spells. So like I think he has one magnified offensive spell, and the rest of them are magnified defensive. Luckily, you still get fire, so the boss isn't too bad.
Funnily enough, with this game, I never actually did hard mode. I never did with Remake either. I actually never finished all the side quests. I got to the ultimate party animal stuff, and then I kind of just decided to start routing, and I got sucked into it, and you know how it is. Also, Cloud is almost dead.
I mean, it's just like we said earlier, routing can be the funnest part of the game. Personally, like I enjoy routing hard mode because there's just so many options. Remake, you really needed it because there really wasn't a lot to do. But in this game, there's almost too much.
Right.
Oh yeah, this changed too.
Zoo is you just hope he doesn't hit you. That's about it. It's not that bad. Like when it comes to these mobs, they're not a lot of variants, but it's still kind of like Remake where your biggest time losses.
Oh, it's faster to go up the ladder. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sometimes you can get around it without having to do that. There's also a spot you can run up over it there.
Yeah, I go up the rocks.
Yeah, I don't. I'm used to this.
The ladder. Okay, that makes sense then. One of the things you may have noticed in the previous fight is that we built up 2 ATB for some reason. They decided to rebalance spells because they saw how busted it was in Remake and made them 2 bars instead of 1. Oh, it's faster to open the door? Or is it just a thing you do?
I don't like having to re-grab this, honestly. I do that, and then if we pull this and we do it on the left a bit, I will get this like faster movement.
Yeah.
Whereas normally it kind of gets stuck, but it's pretty easy to do that.
Getting around that fence is like, I wonder how the QAs must have just got mad and been like, whatever, we can get around it eventually. It's fine.
Yeah, if you're not used to it, it kind of gets stuck and you have to kind of fight it. There's like some tech here where you can like dodge and you get your movement still, but that's what happens. The camera gets all wonky, so I don't even bother doing it because then you kind of just walk wherever. Whereas normally you'd have your paralysis.
You would think it saves time, but then when you realize you have to fight the camera and have weird movement, it's like, yeah, Cloud the Janitor, indeed. The enemy targeting is really going to come up here, actually. The one thing that's really weird between like doing 16 Rebirth and Remake is the buttons are kind of swapped all over the place.
Oh my
God. The same. Go ahead.
I did want to check like when FF16 got his recent patch. I wanted to look at it and I opened it up and I'm just jumping around like a monkey. I couldn't even figure out what the heck I'm doing because the buttons.
Yeah, I'm trying to lock on with R3 and it's like, no, it's L1. Oh, running is on this. Why?
It's so funny.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like jumping between Remake and like Rebirth either. Okay. We have our MK boss. You know this. It's fine.
Oops.
Basically, with how we want to do this is you get the 2 ATB and then we use Firaga. We don't use Eroga on accident, which I have plenty of times. And this boss is weak to fire. And you carry your ATB over. If you're not locked on, a thing that will happen is you'll actually automatically lock on to a part, which is one of its legs. When you do enough damage to his leg, it'll cause it to fall down. You can do it on the main body as well, but it's slower. A lot of enemies have parts that take more damage, or rather, their
and then
defensive
it like, throws a certain amount at the main body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Their defensive multiplier is lower. We got it. Sometimes you can Q L1 before this goes. Sometimes you can't.
Ooh, nice.
I don't.
Yeah, trying to like buffer moves in Rebirth is an absolute nightmare compared to Remake. Remake, you can mash in the cutscenes. This game, don't do that or you're going to get punished. It took me a while to learn this, because in easy mode, you actually just use Zanshen twice with Rising Slash versus Fire. And I'm like, why is he what's going on?
So we are actually going to we're going to do this fight twice, because I want to show something.
Cool. Okay.
But I think I'll just explain this real quick. On the Firaga, when it takes 2 bars, it is kind of a nerf on the ATB, but it does 2.5 damage in aura, basically, compared to like Fira, it would do 2.5 more. So, and it costs less MP.
I mean, that's fair, because in Remake, the damage, I believe, was the same. The only difference was the stagger value between Ra and Ga, and the cut as well, so you didn't get knocked on your butt.
So this is the counterfire way to drop them. If you counterfire a Trine does this little triangle attack towards you, and you counterfire, it'll knock him down. Unfortunately, this is
still got a stagger.
This is slow, and you'd have to like ether with this sort of setup.
I see.
And then Firaga and stuff.
Yeah, because you want to do double helix for the magic. I mean,
Yep.
I'm
gonna explain that too here, but I just want to show off the counterfire version of dropping them. It's not quick.
I will say one of the cooler things, like they have synergy for 2 different attacks. The team attack is actually called like chains in Japanese, and I prefer it a little bit more just to give differentiation, because there's 2 different types of synergies. but we'll probably get to that a little bit later.
It should be fun. We don't want to see crits on this fight.
Yeah, I remember cursing crits in hard mode. You're like, no.
Yeah, as our stats go up, our crit rate will go up, but it only really is problematic on like a couple of fights really here, and I don't like to see Undying, but Barrett has like an 8% crit rate or something, and it's only a problem if you get 2.
I'm just glad the game shows you in this one. You can actually look up your crit rate and crit multiplier. It's so nice.
Yeah. It's kind of hidden away, but you have to like press L3 or something.
It's better than Remake, where it's just not available at all, and you have to do math and look at the Ultimania, and it's like, yay!
Yeah, on my calculator, I do have that stuff there just in case, but I don't use my damage calc too much. It has changed a little bit compared to
Remake.
The Remake, it was basically the same thing, but without a correction. In this game, it's I'm gonna read it here. So for your attack, it's your basic value plus a correction times a multiplier like -1, and then you like have the enemy's multiplier with their defense. So there's a bunch of multipliers here, which is like a set value and per enemy per boss, and then you have like another correction thing, and it's not that useful. But here we have our synergy ability. If you have enough pips. If you look underneath the ATB, where in the bottom right, you'll see these blue bars. There's 2 and then 3 blank for Sephiroth, and the same for Cloud. This is your synergy abilities on normal. They cost 3 if it's an attacking one. If it's United Refocus, it costs 4. And then every subsequent one for any of them is 5. Now on easy, it's 2 rather than 3. I don't know what the subsequent one is, if it's 4 or 5.
I think it's 4, and then it goes up to 5 on the third one. Because I've messed up a few fights and had to do it again, and I'm not really saying that it's like a throat. I'm just like, well.
So I pause this here for a moment just to show that we are casting Firaga, but we had 6 MP. Firaga costs 18 MP. So how did we do this? Well, the synergy abilities, the big ones here, they have some sort of extra effect. They either up your limit, which your limit level can go to 1, level 2, level 3, and this persists throughout the battle, regardless if you use it. Or you have the magic one here, which gives you infinite MP for a time. And that's how we deal with that. We use the infinite MP. Or you get a third one.
Limits
and the third one...
Go ahead, sorry.
The third one is just like a little attack buff. It's like a little power buff. It gives 200 more power in total to the ability. And then it extends stagger time by 5 seconds, but the animations are usually so long that it's not worth it.
Yeah, I realized that casually too. I was like, I don't get to hit after I extend this. Cool.
I know, because you're like locked into the animation, and then they kind of take a little bit to get out of the animation, and so that 5 seconds is basically wasted unless you're using the third character.
Yeah, like you'd have to have like Aerith with all her ATB stored up, and you're just spamming and ATB boosting and ATB assisting. But yeah. One thing is that those team attacks are very, very strong. Normally in like easy, you can just get away with waiting for the guy to jump down, tap him with the sword, and then hit him with Firaga. Luckily, we have enough MP.
Also, a funny thing there with him, it is possible. I mean, you could easily do some easy, but it is possible to actually do a setup where you drop Materia Keeper's health to 0 when he's on the wall, even on normal, but he gates. So he has a HP gate, it has a lock thing, and you can't actually defeat him.
Yeah, it's something that happened in Remake too. If you locked bosses at the wrong time, they turn into zombies. Doesn't happen very often, but you feel bad when it happens.
I think a common one was like apps in Remake. If this happened, sometimes they would just bug out.
I've lost a few runs to apps. Yep.
Yep. It's like, you're dead. Please, you're dead. What is going on? Okay, so I skipped ahead a bit because there's a bunch of story stuff there, and we don't really care about that.
A lot of walking.
We don't have a comm skip. Unfortunately, so we have to do it.
Yeah, we kind of get spawned in there, so we got nothing.
Yeah, we have on the overworld, we have our map here. That's pretty big. We can go all the way through here. This game is a lot more massive compared to Remake, of course. But here we have our different party subs. We will be switching. I'm not doing a run. We're just showing things, but you switch between these all the time. You do some party sub, excuse me, and then you switch between. For here, I go with like a party 2. It's important to remember this. And in Grasslands, what we do on normal is we need to master an ability. So if you use your ability, you get 10%, right? And we need to get 100%. And here we can see the animation canceling with red. It's just a little bit quicker than Tifa, although a little bit annoying. And your pathing here in Grasslands, a lot of people go this way, and I used to too, but I go this way. And the reason why is quite simple, because it wants you to go here, but you don't actually have to go there. You can just go straight to the swamp, and that's a destination. We want to go south, so I go this way.
I mean, the other thing too is you get to miss the oh, this is a chest place. You should go get the chests, dude.
The cash, yeah.
It does have some nice items, but in easy, like, if you're dying in easy, you need to work a little bit harder. Normal, however.
Yeah, you can see we can jump like crazy there. It's easier to jump down than up. Like, we couldn't jump back up there. But if you're in a battle, you can't even go over a tiny ledge like this. They just forget how to do that, and you're just stuck in the fight.
Oh. The worst part, too, is like when you're trying to use items or curing, and if you stumble over a rock that's like high enough for your shoe to like graze it, it's over. Right there. Yeah, there you go. It makes healing so awful. It's the worst.
Yeah.
I think one of my major gripes.
You just have to be careful when you do it, is what it ends up being. Like, you do have to be aware of the terrain when you're moving through it.
Yeah, I'm so used to spamming cure from hard mode, so it's like magic cure done. This, I gotta like go into the menu and get to potions, and I'm like, oh god, please help me! I just want to use a mega potion, but I can't menu fast enough.
I'm gonna show something. So, like I said, we got 10% when we use the ability, and of course, using an ability 10 times is a bit much to master it. This does have the same mastery system as Remake. When you have a new weapon or something, or even in this case, our default weapons, they're not automatically mastered. Some characters have some, and then other subsequent weapons, they don't, but they have what's called a proficiency bonus. So if you do what it says, you get an extra 30% on top of the 10%, so you get 40%. Unless it was 2 ATB, then it's 20%, and then like 60% or something extra, right? So in this case, we would be mastering thrust and focus shot. So that means we need to get basically the best way is like 3 staggers with both characters, because we get the proficiency bonus on both of them. It's a little inefficient, but it doesn't really matter at that point. But for me, I make sure to have a backup, because the way I do this, I go with a very minimal amount of experience, and so I just use focus shot on that Mandragora. It's part of my experience route as well, and then in case I need to use it later, but we counter it. We do that, and there you go. We got 40%, just like that. Yeah. If I wanted to, we can do this and an extra, and now we have 20%, and then you flee.
That's the only downside to like easy. In easy, if you try to do the counters, it kills the enemy, so you can't get the focus thrust.
Oh yeah.
So you have to like guard and then poke them a little bit to get your ATB instead.
Right. Well, there is a way around that.
You have to like guard cancel.
Yep, exactly. I think you get your ATB right away on the guard.
That's actually one of the nice things with the Punisher counter. You can like cancel the animation with guard over and over again, and just cheese a bunch of ATB if you're doing it properly. It's super cool.
Yeah, but this game is you can cancel animations a lot easier. There's many ways to do it. We'll show some more things later once we have synergy abilities unlocked. Don't be confused. I know we used synergy ability earlier, but I'm talking about synergy ability. That's not the same thing.
There's a team attack that you can do for free when you're guarding, and then there's the synergy like team attacks that you have to go to the menu for. That's kind of why I was like making the differentiation. In Japanese, they call that the chain move. So it's like synergy chains instead.
Yeah, and in English, they're both synergy ability, and it's confusing.
Yeah. So it's like your guard, team attacks, and then like your dual attacks, basically. That's the better way to look at it.
I'm going to do the whole grasslands. But there's also, I'm going to show it here. Oh my goodness.
Thanks, Red.
Well, that's fine. Thanks, Red. Yeah. He does that if you're not careful. That's okay, because we have... so here, what I'm going to do is, normally I would just stagger it, and then I'd finish it off by doing a summon. Now, this isn't the same summon as summon material. We do have that, and they give stats, and we don't want to use them on accident, but we're not going to accidentally do that. Not like in Remake, where like you might do it on Genova. I did that before.
Yeah, nothing like choking out a Sephiroth with Ifrit.
Yep. But if we hold R1 and we switch to a character, they'll do a little attack. And if they're a character that can go aerial, they go aerial, which is Yuffie, Tifa, and Cloud, which is a different mechanic compared to Remake that didn't have that. Or if they're on the ground, they just do this attack. I actually did do it earlier without explaining it. It's a way to reposition. You can save characters with this.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's like visually obvious, but if you switch without holding R1, the characters stay where they are. But if you hold R1, it'll warp you to that monster. So there's some places where this optimizes movement. And especially some like aerial bosses, being able to warp your character right next to a flying boss is a godsend.
Yes, it can also be used as a means to save a character from something.
Getting him out of the way of like
really a spoiler,
basically a rage attack.
Genova, if she does like vengeance, depending on how you do the fight, like you can decide to save a character or not.
Yeah, Genova's move, either like Genova does nothing or it like one-shots you. That's how Genova works.
Yeah, in phase 1, she'll do like vengeance. It's annoying, but you can just save the character with warping. I used to just let Cloud get hit and then I'd pressure with Tifa, but I prefer to just save them. Or this route, actually, on normal, we do a little bit of quote-unquote grinding, which is we set up an ability to kill an enemy, a synergy ability, and then we flee while it's going off. And you kind of do this in a couple of places.
Kill and move forward. Oh, so you grab this for the stats, I guess?
I grabbed the time loss rod for my Scarlet fight because it's like 15 to 20 seconds slower without it, but it doesn't...
I'm tempted to grab that now because Scarlet is awful and easy. Oh, boy.
She's awful no matter what.
Trying to hit enemies with, like, limbs is an experience that will bring you closer to God because you're going to be praying that every move hits.
Yeah, Scarlet, we can demonstrate this later. I don't know if I can demonstrate the bugs. It's kind of hard to replicate them, but... Well, there's probably one that's easy enough to double hit, but we'll get into that later. We have this here. This is Chocobo catching. Normally, you're supposed to do some things. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I think you just go in the grass and wait and throw some stones or something, but we just go straight forward, and you wait and see if he's going to turn or not. This thing is blind. As you can see, it can't see us.
Oh,
and then
that is way better than just YOLOing it every time.
I used to YOLO it, but yeah, you can just wait and see if it turns or not.
Most of the time, like you can YOLO it and you can just restart, but you have to wait for the chocobos to run away and then start from checkpoint.
Yeah.
So, or if it catches you but you don't get caught, you have to wait for them to stop looking at you. So that's probably way better.
Mm-hmm. The one I want to show this because I'm going to try to show another one later, which is not part of the run. It's something I figured out casually, which is the Cosmo Canyon one. With there's like mine carts there, and you got to do all this pushing. I don't even know what you're supposed to do. I saw that and I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going all the way through. But
just running straight up the middle. There. That would, some of those places, it feels like it would be so nice to have the chocobo, but like then you remember you have to spend 10 minutes to get all of them.
I know, and then there's like there's really not as much movement as you'd think too for a run. Casually, of course, yes. And like the Junon one, that one, it looks like you can get it. I've gotten close to I got the triangle prompt on the chocobo, but then they ran away. So it's just these mini games are very slow.
I'll give 16 one thing. If you know what you're doing with the chocobo, it moves. It will be frustrating sometimes, though, because it just turns around to attack enemies, but the chocobo in 16 schmoves. The ones here are pretty quick, but not nearly as fast.
how it has the drifting and the attacking and stuff. I feel like, well, if only we could go as fast as Pico runs away, then it'd be crazy.
Oh yeah, right. You're like, wait, where's this speed? Hold on, wait a minute.
It's not too bad. We're gonna see some stuff.
I would imagine
they do introduce you.
Go ahead.
They do introduce here to Chadley. A lot of people didn't like that. I guess I'm okay with it, but
I mean, I think Chadley is implemented a little bit better this time, where like you just have access to all of the side quests instead of having to go to like 3 different places, like the VR chambers or Chadley or here.
Yeah. We do have materia. You do get choices here. You get one. We get 10 points for the chocobo, and we get 10 points for this tower. So if you did accidentally menu too quickly and you bought this on accident, it would be okay. Unfortunately, this will now be in your inventory. You cannot get rid of this. And
it's probably the worst materia in the game.
Auto unique. I tried to find a use for it. It's interesting with like Tifa. She'll use like unbridled strength, and she won't use Omni Strike. She will use her uppercut still, which is like okay, but
I mean the problem is that the AI still gets the damage and ATB building cut, right?
They still get that stuff. Yeah. So you get 30% ATB gain if it's the ATB doing that stuff. The ATB, the AI doing that stuff. So like overcharge, for example, with Barret, which we use all the time for ATB, is bad with that.
Especially because of how long it takes to recharge. Oh, I guess that's a better place to do the Chadley missions, huh?
You do it at the tower. Yeah, I do it here.
Okay. That's fine.
No. I was asking you. You do it at the tower.
I do it at the tower. I back out of the fire and ice one and then just spam back into it. But I guess it would be faster to do it here because you don't have to wait for all those pop-ups to talk to Chadley.
Well, the reason I do it here is because you have to follow Billy and you're on a slow walk. So if you do this here, he's already at the gate afterwards.
Saves you a little bit of slow walk. That's
so we do
call.
We do this. It's like 50-ish seconds. It doesn't feel like it, but it is. But we do this for enemy skill. Now, enemy skill, very good. I don't remember all the skills in part 1. I feel like the only useful one there was self-destruct.
Alleged aura hits for decent damage, ice for 60 seconds. There was soul drain, which did a decent damage, wide AoE, but was not very long. And then bad breath, which was garbage because most of the it couldn't like inflict berserk, which would have been like one of the only ones you cared about. And then self-destruct, which can be heavily abused to game limits. Although it's still a little bit weaker in this game because limits are reworked, so you can't just like up the level. Like we mentioned earlier, you have to do the team attacks or equip an accessory to buff your limit level. So you only ever have access to one usually.
The level 1 limit, yeah. We do have this thing in this game where you have mini games. Now, most of them we can back out of. Some you have to do.
You have some mini games.
We have some frustrating ones, we'll say. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of wish you had to do some of them just because they are useful. However, hard can skip a lot of stuff, right? And New Game Plus can skip all kinds of stuff.
New Game Plus is great because like you can just warp everywhere. You don't have to do any of this walking, so it's a lot quicker.
Yeah, you get like the warps earlier. There's like less stuff you have to do. There's certain
the map carries over, so you can just warp. So like once you go from Calm, you can just warp to the Chocobo, or warp to. I think you can just warp straight to the Chocobo. But if anything else, you have to go to the Swamp, Chocobo, then you have to go, you can warp closer to pick up the other Chocobo and then warp back. It's super fast. Like this whole area.
There's also like certain places that actually give you slowdown that you don't actually get in New Game Plus. They don't give you that, like the Tiny Bronco stuff on the way to Costa del Sol.
One of the other big differences in New Game Plus in normal, you don't like just get recovered every chapter. You get just a little bit of HP. You get your stuff recovered every time you go to an inn or spend the night somewhere. And there's a few places in the game where that's just programmed in. This, however, in hard mode, every time you finish a chapter, you get your stuff back. If it's hard, you don't get MP. If it's any other difficulty on New Game Plus, you get your HP and MP refilled. So like right after this boss, you get a refill.
I'm just setting up for...
Oh, you do that.
These files aren't actually correct. If I had never updated my practice files.
Notes.
But
Yeah.
This is fine. This will work.
Yeah, that's the downside of this. 16 has 50 save slots. This game still has 10 because screw you. So I literally have 3 main files that I'm going to have for hard mode, and I've cleared hard like 2 or 3 times. Then I have 4 normal files for this. 16 has 2.
Yes. So I have we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we just have my main one. So
yeah.
Really, it should be like 5, but I really didn't want to go through another because, of course, with Remake, what we did was the normal thing was you would do USB transfer and you put it on your computer and you just switch the file. And it wasn't that bad. You have a fast USB stick. It doesn't take that long. Now this, you can't do that on PS5. I don't think there's any way to do something like that. So you have to make new
the
profiles.
Worst part about Integrate too.
So you have to go through the game again. And if you want to make an Endgame profile, well, you have to go through everything, which is, I guess, okay. You know, it's practice, whatever. But it's still, if you make changes, significant changes, it can be a problem.
One thing I always found that during practice, you just grab extra stuff. And then worst case scenario, it's like, well, I grabbed the high ethers early game. I don't use them, so I just won't use it. Versus like having to do a whole thing just to grab the high ether in the mine or something.
So we have a boss that a lot of people know. This is a very good moment casually. It's great in a run. This is Zalem. We don't have a Zalem skip. We have to fight this. This boss does a lot of damage. It seemed like originally it would be a problem if we didn't do any grinding because it seemed really hard and normal. I can actually do my same at 15, level 15. However, it is routed to where we get focus thrust and focus shot because we get new weapons. You get new weapons a lot, and these new weapons are stronger. Because they're at specific kind of levels. You were assumed to be a certain level, and therefore a certain weapon level. Weapons, they level up over time, and then you get different abilities, different stats that go up.
If you're familiar with Remake, the weapon, like, you had to choose how to level it up. This one just like, here's stats, and then you get to choose an ability or two.
Yeah, you can do like the auto level up, but it's kind of slow. It's not very useful. We don't have as much use as like in Remake, where in Remake you wanted to do it automatically because otherwise you go into Galaxy mode and you have to choose stuff.
Nodes take forever to do manually.
Yeah, and so when we get new weapons, we just equip them basically, and therefore we need to have certain abilities. We don't care about Firebolt Blade, which is on this one. Maybe I could take a look at it in the future. There's a ton of routing to do still. I don't know.
I like it casually because it schmooves you across the board, but yeah. Spells are probably better.
And then we have on Barret, we get bonus round. This ability is amazing. We'll go into this later. It doesn't have any place
bonus
here.
Round is...
All we have is, all we care about is focus from him and hope he doesn't miss. So we're going to, and I'm explaining this. There's no way I can explain this during the fight. But basically, the idea with this boss, we have to do enough damage, enough ice damage, which will typically take 2 blizzards to pressure the boss. Now, the boss is hard to hit. You can actually miss because Blizzard, you shoot it out and it has impact, and then you have to wait, and then it does its damage. Where if the enemy moves, well, it doesn't do its damage. And this is the case because once it does a move called Coil, you then have to target the head. And hitting this head is a nightmare if you don't have the timing right, and you'll miss a lot. However, you can actually miss the body, but I've only missed the body once, where it just kind of wriggled out of the way just barely. But I'm going to do it and just show what it's like.
You would think it's really easy to hit this snake, but not so much.
I use Bullet Batter here to get some ATB for Barret, because it gives ATB to both.
Bullet Batter can actually be pretty busted if you have red. You can spam both Bullet Batter and Howling Moon.
Yep, we will be showing that. That's ideal with bottom as well.
Yeah, it sounds about right. One of the reasons we grabbed the enemy skill is because we were looking for Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom gives us a nice short-term Bravery and Faith, which is I believe, a 20% damage buff, so that's massive early game.
Oh, Sonic Boom lasts for 30 seconds, and it gives you the Bravery and Faith, like Sid said, and it's actually... so I'm going to make the differentiation. It's not a damage buff. It ups your attack, your physical attack or your magic attack, respectively.
Oh, okay.
I do have to make the differentiation because multipliers... we'll get into just how crazy multipliers are later. If you know math, you know that that can be ridiculous.
Yeah, that makes more sense when you put it that way.
heal Cloud because this fight is kind of ridiculous, the damage you can take if you're not careful. And I always go into here full health. You either choose to die or kind of do it like this.
Yeah, and easy, it's a lot quicker, fortunately. Everything in easy is a lot quicker. You'll notice a lot of Omni Strike spam here. It used to be in Remake Intergrade, you could use Uppercut and then cancel it with Parry, and you'd get a ton of ATB and damage and spam the Uppercut really, really fast. And I think the devs saw that and they're like, nah, that's busted. So they moved all the ATB gain to Omni Strike, which just led to us going, okay, Omni Strike, Unbridled, Omni Strike, Unbridled, Omni Strike, Unbridled.
Omni Strike was kind of bad in Remake.
Yeah.
The numbers on it. Here we do sync recycling. This is, again, we explained this is basically like what we did with Sephiroth, but with Cloud. And in this case, it's all of Cloud's magic attack is what this is calculated off of. It does not use Tifa in the calculation. There's a few abilities like this, but most of them will do like some combination of both characters' attack or magic attack. I'll go into that a bit later.
Fortunately, this is really good at pressuring too.
Yep, you can pressure with this if you need to. And what I do there is when he does coil, he's going to go on the ground and come back up and kind of eat someone. Or if his house is enough, he does a big attack. We do this to catch the boss essentially and lock him down. You see damaged cranium, that's the head. When you destroy this, the defensive stats on this boss lowers, which is nice. We don't have to get that to happen though. It's not a big deal, but I prefer to have that happen. I don't have limits, so I'm going to do the snap back up. And then the boss is dead. Zalom is one of those bosses that's difficult to learn at first. It's definitely the first wall in the run.
There's actually a bug with it that I got a video of earlier. That it really only happens if you're bad at the game. But Zolom is quite the character. It's a hard boss to learn. I'd almost say just get past Zolom and learn the stuff in the Mithril Mines first, honestly.
Yeah, here we do a save load. There is actually a lot of these in the run. You do slow walks, and if you save and load, you get rid of the dialogues. And there's other uses for it too. Which I'll probably speed things along and show later, skip wise and stuff. We do have some skip stuff. It's not like big stuff like, oh my god, you skip all this whole segment and all these bosses like in Remake where you could skip a lot, a chapter 13 skip, 9 skip, whichever one was Allegory 11, I think, 10, 11.
Yeah. You were able to like get out of bounds and also set up a weird like interaction where the game let you be out of bounds, because normally when you get out of bounds, the game soft locks. Because I did it casually by accident, and if you get out of bounds, the game's just like, I don't know how to move you, but like that spot that we just squeezed through there causes you to get in a weird state where you can actually move out of bounds in Remake, but we have yet to find a way for that to be like viable, if not even possible in Rebirth so far.
Yeah, we're gonna skip ahead here. We don't really need to show anything in chapter 3, honestly.
Do you want to show the Zolom real quick before we move on, since we just got done with that? You want to see him schmovin'?
How do I do that? I guess
we got the video file on our side, so just...
Oh, you got it on your side? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of my older runs, we got this set up, so we can show this off. This is what a bad runner looks like. I'm doing this on easy mode, so the fight will go a lot quicker, fortunately. But that Berserk plus Sonic Boom Bravery Faith boost just like shoots your damage to the moon. And then
because Berserk is oh, there it is.
Yeah. For some reason, if you hit him with ice, he just goes. He's gone. It's
yeah,
a pretty
he just
funny
flies across. I've seen that. That seems to be more of a thing that happens to people on easy, actually. Like, I've honestly never had it myself. I would imagine,
yeah. Since you were saying you have to hit him with ice twice, the second ice would have to hit him in a real specific way. Because I think it has to do with the stagger.
So, we're going to say something here. So, here at Bottoms Oil, you can choose to have, like, a couple parties. You can have, like, Tifa, Barret, and Red. I use Barret and Red because And it's a tiny bit slower than with Tifa, but
I can see that being more consistent.
This is the only place in the run where you can do this tech. That's my only reason for doing it.
I picked it up casually when I was trying to route.
I choose some things like that are a little bit slower, but are kind of more swag to me. Only because, it's only that part in the run. I don't always go for the fastest thing. I want the run to be cool, So, bottoms well, we just do a tech here where we can do a double guard if you do it right. We get the quick fight. We actually had a high ATB roll. With summon cloud, and then we do square, square, triangle, triangle, square, square, triangle, triangle, and we do this batting, and it just like that, the boss is down.
It's ridiculous amount of DPS. It really is.
Yeah, it fills that bar so quick, and the boss only has like 80 stagger bar.
It honestly, it crushes some things in hard mode. That when one of my friends, one of the other runners, X7 Strife, told me about it, I was like, huh? I checked it out in hard mode, and it just absolutely crushed like 3 of the enemies. Oh, we're not going for the limit. Oh, we are.
I do limit. I wait for Berserk to run out because otherwise they'll do like 1100.
Oh
damage.
Yeah, that damage bone. Berserk is a double-edged sword. If you don't know, it increases your damage output, but you also take that much additional damage. So we used to use it a lot in hard mode because getting extra damage would self-destruct would guarantee limits in some situations, but you have to be mindful of that additional berserk damage bonus, self-damage, can get you killed real quick.
Yeah, but berserk, it's a 30% multiplier, so of course we want to use it. We do have another version which I can show later. We don't care about any of this, do we? On the bow, I don't think we need to show anything on the bow. In terms of, I'm going to switch to the second profile here. A lot of the next segments are just, okay, you got story stuff, you walk here and there, you do the officer recruitment, you do some mini games, and then you got some enemy battles.
Giant card game tournament that you can just skip, but they force you to sign up for.
Yeah, you have to sign up, but then you can forfeit instantly. It's like, oh my god.
It's like, why did I need to sign up? Hold on, wait, no, you got to play this additional bonus game too.
Yep. Oh, but wait, you can actually back out of that too. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Costa del Sol. We have to do some mini game stuff here because you need to get outfits to go to the beach. Now on New Game Plus, you don't need to do this. You have the outfits available right away, and they can just go.
As a matter of fact, you could just leave them equipped the whole game. I'm not going to because it seems kind of lame, but you could. The fastest New Game Plus run would just have the beachwear
New
on
Game
the
Plus,
entire run.
New Game Plus, you get to have the outfits outside of Costa del Sol.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
It's unfortunate because you're wearing the beachwear the entire game instead of it just activating here, which would be nice because if it was like, well, I could just auto-equip it, I run on the beach, they equip it, then when I leave, but it does save quite a bit of time not having to do these. So
yeah. In this segment, you can choose to do it in one of two ways. In the first part, we have to get Cloud's outfit, and there's the cards, which is faster than the pirate game. The pirate game, you can get time materia, but we don't need that unless you're doing level boost stop stuff, but it's just not worth the time loss. Here, you can choose to take pictures. Now, or you can do Run Wild. Now, for me, I personally don't do the pictures. One, because Run Wild is fun. I enjoy it more. And here, because of my camera style, I need inverted Y. Unfortunately, when I have in third person, so I push up, it pans the camera down. This is my play style in all games. Now with a normal camera, I need it to not be inverted. I need up to go up with a regular camera, but you can't differentiate between the two in this game, so it's annoying for me. So the camera segments, with the trials with Eric,
you
end
up looking at the ground instead.
Yeah, if you want to look at something up left, well, I have to hold down left, that sort of thing, and that's just my wonky playstyle. But Run Wild is a little bit slower. If you average a time remaining 1 minute, you'll lose 30 seconds ish on the other. The pictures.
I mean, you also get the silver collar, which is pretty decent, honestly.
Well, actually, I'm going to explain this. So, and you'll see, we're going to do this twice for a specific reason. Here, if you win, a good time was, about 1 minute remaining. This is Rocket League. We can jump around. We can do all kinds of stuff. I would always focus on black. Now, black or any opponent, if they hit the ball, they'll overpower red. Even these tiny puppies over here, they have more strength than red. So you want to hit the ball after them. Just like that. See, we hit it and they hit it away. And it doesn't matter which one it is. They'll just overpower you somehow, even though so red's actually really weak. So you have to be careful if you're doing this. This isn't going to be a very good time, but because I'm showing it. But we do have to take out all three. Well, in quotations. If you do 2 goals, they get mad. They come on goals. They start doing things. Except for yellow. Yellow will become mad at the end, the final 1 minute of the game. And then they kind of chill out, and they get 2 balls, starting from the 2-minute mark. Have to be careful. There are some weird things where if you square the ground attack on the ball, the auto tracking might mess up and make red just send the ball flying in a random direction. That's why I always use the X lob thing first. Please don't troll me.
Some pro level stuff. I didn't even know you could jump like that. That's what I get for not reading.
Yeah, so we have yellow. Yellow will always camp until 1 minute remains. And is very obnoxious. He'll always try to push the ball into a corner, which does not help. It doesn't help anyone. It's just basically griefing. That's all yellow does, is it griefs. And then we would win and we get the silver collar. However, only recently I realized something. You don't need to win. We just need the outfit. We just need second place. So a better thing is, if yellow doesn't want to play the game, well, we just leave them out of the game and we score on ourselves. We don't have a goalie. So
I never even thought.
I know, it took me a while to realize this. And this speeds it up to, I usually average about 120-ish. On the clock, 120 to 130. So overall, compared to pitchers, it might lose like 10 seconds or no time at all if you have a really good game. However, we have to be careful because you will lose if your goal hits 0 before you take out the other enemies. And of course, we need second place. So it's really risky if you were to go down to 1 on your goal. And then sometimes black just knocks into yellow, which is annoying, but whatever. Also, yeah, the silver collar. So the silver collar gives Chilling Roar ability. It's not that useful, honestly. To get full effect, it's very strong, but you have to get all of the ice procs, which is like red has to get hit or something.
Yeah. It would basically be like one of those things where you're like setting up vengeance while guarding for vengeance, pretty much. Yeah. Which, I mean, I think it's just more so like the stats early game, but honestly, red, at least in easy, red does not do a ton of work until you're forced to use him in the cave.
Yeah, I mean, red, he's great at building stagger. Oops, there's the turnaround thing. And I scored on yellow somehow. That takes some skill. But anyways, so yeah, you score on yourself and you get second place, and then you get the thing and you continue on and you switch your outfits. We do care about the outfits in some regard, as we have what is known as a relationship thing.
Affection values, yeah.
In this game, where in the final 2 fights, you have specific party orders and they are determined based on your relationship points. Now, you get 1 point for using the smaller synergy abilities, the team attacks, and you get 2. This only happens once. You get 2 points for the person.
First activation, yeah.
Yep, first activation, exactly. You get 2 points for the big synergy abilities, and then throughout the game, we get moments where we can talk to the characters, and you get 4, 5, or 6. Based on what you said to them. And then there's mini games where you get different values. And so I basically just have a spreadsheet that tracked it all, and the order just depends on what you want for the final boss. For me, I want red to be above Yuffie, which is a little annoying, so I need to take a 7-second time loss in Gungaga to talk to him.
extra
That is a thing that's throughout the entirety of the game. Whereas in Remake, it was just something in the final fights where that's when it started.
Yeah, it was in the second to last boss where, like, depending on how you did the fight would determine the AI order. Pretty much you would always have Aerith no matter what you did because she just gets so many points. But, I mean, you wouldn't want Barrett in
unless you messed up big time.
Yeah.
Unless you messed up big time and then you're like, Barrett.
You get Barrett and you're like, well, this run's dead.
I did find a way to like back it up in normal, but like it never happened to me.
You have to keep an eye on it and be aware that you're going to get Barrett. Because if you get get Barrett, it's GG. Because you're not going to waste time setting him up ever. Honestly, like Barrett is worlds apart in Rebirth than he is in Remake. He's way better.
Perfect. That's what I wanted. So we have here a soft lock. This is a known soft lock. It's not patched. If you skip this cutscene during kind of like a few seconds here where Hojo is transitioning to lane on the chair, you get this. An infinite load. Now you can't go to the title screen. There is a failsafe for this, thankfully. But if you do this, then you go back to the checkpoint. You have to do the walk on the beach again.
It sucks. Down.
So you have to be aware of this.
It's not a soft lock, but the dolphin minigame is horrendous. If you miss either of the inputs, you have to do the whole dolphin minigame again. And I'm like, I will rage quit a run if I mess that up. No way in heck.
Yeah. It did happen to me.
I did it during practice, and I'm like, if I ever do this during a run, I'm going to be coping, molding, seething, and all of the above so much.
So there's a little fancy thing here. This is what I do in the run. This is risky if you don't do it well. If you look towards a specific area, I don't know why, but you get your run back. And then you only get it so far. Because then he'll do the slow jog. But you can definitely get there faster. Overall saves about 8 seconds. I was curious, but I did look back at the video that I recorded.
I'll have to start picking this up then.
It's like 8 to 10 seconds. Yep. And then you don't have to wait for the cutscene.
But you also run the risk of the skip the soft lock here if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, so you need to do it correctly. You have to be able to do it correctly. Absolutely.
I think I actually have a save on the beach. Dude, this boss is actually like a major gimmick. I'm sure that's what we'll be explaining, but like it's not obvious casually.
Was there something I wanted to show? There was something I wanted to show, I think. Well, I was considering if I wanted to even do this. Here you can choose to take either party member. Technically, Aerith can be faster depending on your luck.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you have it on, but ATB or Arcane Ward can be better here. At least in easy, it can save you some time. Plus, you also get Spellblade. So these like hold attacks that we're doing right now are a team attack between Cloud and Tifa.
Yeah. Cloud
and Aerith have a similar version that is more or less the same strength depending on what Cloud's equipped with. But the difference is Tifa's really only extends the length of the sword, while Aerith gets a nice like beam blade out of it, which is really good.
Yeah,
really,
Spellblade is a linear attack. Unfortunately, if you choose that, you get a 5-second longer dialogue during this fight, so you have to pick your poison. Power Cleave is a little bit stronger power-wise for the multipliers, but it's at such a small AoE. And it's physical-based. Spellblade is magic-based. It's based entirely off of Cloud stats. Your other party members don't matter unless they have a synergy multiplier damage. Like, something says, oh, you do 15% more synergy damage. If that was on Tifa, well, that would apply to Power Cleave.
Yeah, luckily with this
and boss, it has 40 keep.
Go ahead.
40 keep. So, like, for example, this Pulse Blast, well, that doesn't do anything, I guess. I'm not sure if I have an enemy that can demonstrate this. On easy, you can just spam this, right? Because on easy, your 40 keep abilities get pushed up to 60. And that's why there's so much melee blade spam.
But in easy, the only way you miss a blade is when the boss moves out of the way. That's quite literally the only situation where you miss one.
And unfortunately, we hit a gate and our party members go away. It's a very gimmicky fight. You can choose to build the stagger and stagger at the end, or this next phase. It's kind of whatever, honestly.
Yeah, either way, you're going to get a stagger. With Aerith, you can throw down an arcane ward here in easy and have that clear one phase without stagger, and then clear again. Pick your poison here, yeah.
You can do that fine with Thundara, as long as you don't build that bar all the way and you just do a Berserk Thundara and the next phase it pushes.
Yeah, if in easy, you can just get away with Faith plus Berserk, and Thunder will push too. You don't necessarily need the Arcane Ward.
Perfect. I wanted to show this. If you use Sonic Boom at the wrong time, this does not apply to Faith.
Oh, yeah, I ran into this in a run, and I was so mad. I was like, wait, what? So, it passively applies the Bravery and Faith, and if you enter a cutscene too soon, the game goes, yeah, well, get fucked, idiot. You're just like, oh, why would you do this?
Yep. You don't get it. That is something I wanted to show here. I was hoping I could get it.
Yeah, luckily you kind of have to go out of your way to activate that. So unless you're
accidentally, but like where it just gives me it doesn't in order. It gives Bravery and then Faith, and the Faith just doesn't apply. It's weird. It just.
Yeah, when you see the Bravery pop up and you're like, where's my Faith? Where's my Faith? Where's my Faith? And you just start panicking during the cutscene. You're like, please, 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 please.
Or you're like me and you start to try to devise a backup plan on the fly. Well, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, Wodie's right. The Arcane Ward isn't needed. It's just faster if you get it, from what I understand. But it is a neat little thing that speeds up the fight a little bit. But as you said, there's a downside to grabbing Aerith because you get the longer dialogue, but you also get the safer fight because you have the distance of Spellblade, so you don't really have to gamble on hitting with Power Blades.
I don't think you have to worry about Howl too much either from the little guy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely safer. It's safer, and on a good fight, it is better overall.
It's really not faster, Wodie? I guess somebody lied to me. I'll have to hold somebody responsible for that.
Getting the first subject retrievers is the fastest part. Like if you take a while, it does longer, but if you do enough damage, you will get that subject retrieval. So that's the first one. That's the one that really matters the most.
That whole boss is really weird because like you're just trying to make it progress as fast as possible.
I totally said the wrong thing. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like you have to skip down right, skip down right, skip down right, skip down right. Skip.
Yeah, you talk to her over and over. You just take all the right options. If you take a left, it's the slowest. There's a few different permutations here. Different amounts of relationship points as well. If you get the fastest, you get 11 points. Which only really matters if you're trying to get like red above her. We do get this chocobo. I guess we get 3. No, you get 2 chocobos. 2. No, 3.
You get this one for free. Oh, yeah.
This one's the best. This one has a nice outfit. There's all kinds of stuff here. If you were like a beginner at this and you wanted like more safety things, there's so many things here you can grab for money.
There's
circlet, which sells for 5,000, I think it is.
Good materia here too, and they're not exactly that hard. I think it's like 3 side quests, something like that.
Yeah.
Is in this area.
We get ATB boost. Yep. That's why we go do these hunts. Actually, I was kind of just autopiloting. These maybe this can be cut out eventually. I'd like to cut this out eventually. This is like over a minute you take to do these.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Party. You have to do 2 of these, and then we don't go back to a Costa del Sol to get our materia. We just wait until Corral, or you can do it in the Dust Bowl. This is the power of Spellblade. You can just hit like a bunch of enemies at once. You see, like I somehow hit that one, for example.
Yeah, Spellblade is like in this weird sweet spot where there's some level of skill to lining up the Spellblade, and then there's just RNG of the enemies holding still long enough for you to fire it off because of the charge time.
Yeah, and a lot of people would probably see like easy and be like, oh my god, it's melee blade spam, no skill. Well, there is still skill involved with how you use it and when you use it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even if easy is a bit more mundane compared to normal in that regard. So you do have to...
If you're not paying attention and just spamming it, you're going to end up losing time, which I do all the time. Some of the later bosses schmoove quite a bit, and just recklessly spamming blades will punish you very hard. You have to be very careful and mindful.
Good fight. These guys can be a little annoying.
These guys are the ones that I was testing the bullet bounce and howling moon on. They get absolutely crushed. But blades are just going to hit a lot harder.
But this is what it's routed into for normal. Yeah. That you do like this. It might be cut out. I did want to show it because I might cut this out at some point. You get the EXP, the AT, and
a little bit of leveling,
ATB boost. ATB boost. I mean, it takes maybe like 4 or 5 seconds to get an ATB if like an enemy's not attacking Cloud.
I'd imagine the fights are much faster than grabbing towers, right? Because of the cutscenes.
Yes, it's definitely faster. I did time everything that could be done here. A little bit of time save. You hear Bear say, huh, what? That's because he's going through all his automatic dialogue. You just come back here.
This is funny that this works.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're just already walking up the mountain. Normally you'd have to climb longer and you'd wait around.
Walk very slow, yeah. When I saw this, I was like, I can't believe how much sense this makes. It's hilarious. I
just go around.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, that's the one thing when you're trying to learn a run and you're just learning from a single run, you end up missing out on cool things like this, especially when you're on a time crunch. But like, this is why you should, if you're going to learn something, you always should always reference multiple videos if possible, if you have the time, because then you'll see a lot of better movement in some places and maybe strats that work better for you.
That's right.
It always felt weird that we didn't get the wizard rod here, but when I realized that the materia stuff isn't really that useful, I was like, oh yeah, of course.
Which ability is that?
I want to. It's arcane. No, ATB ward. I think. I want to say
ATB ward is the one in
lustrous shield. Then probably because the ability is useless, but it has decent. I think it has like buffed thunder and wind, and it has decent stats. Is the big difference. But it's not like really god tier. It's just better than guard rod at this point.
Yeah, and even then, timeless was actually better. Magic wise, I was looking at this, but yeah, here's how like the grinding is: you do this, and then you'd flee, and you hope you hit both.
Get a couple of kills and then go. Yeah. Well, the nice thing about it, as long as you hit something, you should have ATB to clean at least one of them up with triple ski. Yep. That's the one thing is like triple slash is a really good clear skill. To be honest, there's a reason that it gets used as much as it does.
It's not as much as like in part 1 though, because like we are switching between physical and magical, and that's a physical ability. And again, we don't have as many forced mobs. Like I don't have to do this. I don't have to kill these. But this is just part of the normal route.
That's the big difference. Like in Remake, there's like maybe 2 fights you can avoid, like unironically. And one of them is just by like not walking into it. 16, like you basically have to take every single fight they put in front of you. I think there's like 1 you can skip in the end game. But Rebirth, they're very good about letting you skip. You
can skip this one. It's slower though. It is slower. Okay. You have to like run against this. But actually, if it goes well, it's the same time. So there's no point in doing it.
Because the Spellblade, they almost always spawn in a way where you can Spellblade both of them with a line.
Yeah, so basically you have to like run against here, and then you quickly go up here. So it's not worth the time. It's the same amount of time if it goes well.
It's super cool that they give you that easement into combat where like you can get the ATB boost from first strike, but like it also gives you an option where it's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I'm good, thanks.
Annoying birds. These birds are obnoxious. They can do Zap Talon, and on this route, if you do the XP route that I have on normal correctly, you don't have to fight the one coming up, but on this file I would have to, and they can do Zap Talon, and they got me on my PB, and it stuns you. They do a thing called Thunder Pick. It's really obnoxious. It's
do the stuns last longer in normal, right?
Yeah, so debuffs don't last as long, on easy.
Yeah.
Yep. And therefore stuns are very short, but they are quite long on this. And even if you have 60 keep, you still get stunned out of it. Even though, like a grab and stuff, all these
Zap Talon will stun you. Period. It does not matter what mode you're playing.
But if it was doing that, for example, we could save him by doing an R1 swap.
Oh yeah, if you're paying attention, there are a lot of like.
Yeah.
There's not so much of like, well, I had no choice. If you're mindful, you can get out of a lot of nonsense in this game.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go. Did I want to show Karel? Wait, there's some things. I was gonna show like a broken model thing. You can break the models if you're on like specific edges. There's one I had found with Yuffie as I was doing my big attempting to save load and find ways to break the game. I went through did a lot of things like that recently, where like if the character is looking down like this, you can kind of like get them to turn on themselves in specific spots and break them. Not useful at all.
Yeah. I just Yuffie I find Yuffie is like in this weird spot where she used to be a little bit better in the DLC, but it's like she's more or less the same, so she just suffers from having bad stats.
Yeah, her stats are even. If we take a look at them. Yep,
they're mid. She's got a lot of useful abilities, but the mid stats are the problem.
I have something on, but her strength and magic are equal. That's not good. We don't want balance. We want one way or the other. You know, Tifa gets a lot of strength scaling. Aerith gets magic scaling. You want them to be specialized. Red is in a weird spot. A lot of his stuff is very supportive, his weapon abilities, but he scales off strength. Like he gets more strength, and over time he gets more strength scaling. Unfortunately, a lot of his abilities, like Crescent Claw in Vengeance, or like Overfang synergy ability, scales off his magic mainly. So Red kind of got screwed in this game, I feel. A little bit. Like they didn't fully think it out.
Stardust Ray is like really good for group clearing, but I think that's also magic too.
Yep, that is magic. I think the book says it gets better in Vengeance. When I was doing damage number testing, it didn't actually get better. Basically, Yuffie's only real use is you have her Supreme Art of War. Right, that's about it.
Art of War still gives the buff like it did in the original version, right?
You get a. I don't remember. I just played it. I just played it casually.
Yeah, casual. Because I think it's
you
like
get a damage buff.
In Intergrade, it was a 40% damage buff, I think. While Tifa's Star Shower was like 70, so it was like a baby Star Shower.
Tifa's Star Shower is indeed 70. Still in this, it's just not part of the route because
Dragon Claw is hard to get. Well, not hard, but long.
Yeah, but I just wanted to show like a bit of Omni. Like all we did was use Omni Strike, and it pretty much, and it drops the boss down to half health.
I mean, yeah, Omni Strike hits like a truck, everywhere. And then it's what, like a 20% stagger multiplier, something like that. I think 30. Okay, I was gonna say 40, but I knew 40 was too high.
Yeah, 40 is the true strike, but that takes an ATB. This also gives 70% ATB back if you have. Do I have it on in this? If you have her folio stuff, which I don't get because like it takes 20 seconds to get her folio stuff. It doesn't really save the time.
It's unfortunately slow.
Yeah, you'd get 5% back. I don't even do this anymore, but the Speed Demon keychain is really nice. It gives you 10% back when you use a weapon ability. So Omni Strike would be giving, with all that stuff, 85% of the ATB back. It's ridiculous. And if you use like Rise and Fall or stuff like that, you know, it's even more.
Yeah, because you usually like go Omni Strike and supplement it with an uppercut and then unbridle, but with that you could probably maintain enough that you don't even need to bother looping in the uppers, which are garbage now. Hey, Umbral Blade. Nice.
Yep. Umbral Blade. This weapon. I'm gonna skip all that crap. We're just gonna go straight to showing this. Umbral Blade. This weapon stats are bad. This weapon's not very good, but it has a very good ability called Prime Mode. Prime Mode switches your Berserk. Switches your Punisher to like True Punisher or something. I forget what it's called in Japanese. you get different attacks. It's hard to learn because you'll be flinging your stuff everywhere if you don't understand how to use it correctly, which is when you do your triangle switch out. But
you have to like kill with Prime to learn it too, so it's really annoying.
Well, I'll show you how we learn it. We have to kill them without using the final blow. Must not be an ability. It can't be ability. It can't be a spell or anything. It just has to be a melee attack. Pretty sure even in operator mode it counts.
Yeah, I guess if you would route this properly, like you can edge the HP down and then finish off. You gotta be careful about it though. This is what I did casually too. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, did you to learn it?
Without the fire, I just beat him to death. But this is the fight I learned it in casually too every single time.
Oh, did you do
together? Go ahead.
Oh, so you learned it all in one fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
for whatever reason, I was just like, let's see how this works. And then just every subsequent round, I'm like, yeah, we're just going to learn Prime mode here. Then I can get this thing off my back.
Yeah, so you would go into Prime, which has 60 keep, which will come up later. You go into, double hit. The first hit is normal Berserk. The second hit gives you that mean face. It's the second Berserk. And then we would just finish them off with physical attacks. And this first hit, if you anti-cancel, you'll get this first hit, which does like 2 hits. If you do the whole thing, you get that third hit, that big overhead smash. It gives a lot of ATB. The damage is not good, but it's great for ATB. And just like that, you learn it in one fight. However,
Berserk,
again,
does it last longer than normal Berserk?
It's the same length.
Okay.
10 seconds, I think it is.
Okay.
It is, of course, a double-edged sword. If you get hit with something hard, well, you might just die.
Yeah, because it pushes it from like 30% increased damage, 30% taken to like 50-50, something like that, I think.
Yep, it's 50, yep.
Massive buff, but...
It is more in our favor, of course, because we have multipliers that we can work off with. The bosses do not. Like, if a boss is weak to something, they take 2 times damage. Well, 1.5 times 2 is... you're not getting 50% at this point, right? You're getting... it's an extra, 100% in total, as opposed to the 50%, right? Because they're multiplying together. And if an enemy is staggered, unfortunately, this means that you can miss damage because damage is capped, right? So you can do too much. Like, for example, on Specimen, if you're using Blizzaga and you're berserked and he's staggered, you're going to get quad 9s. Well, it's more efficient to use Blizzara because you will do, like, maybe like 6,000 damage, right? So it's more damage in total. So it doesn't really come up, but that is something to be aware of. That it's nice to have the multipliers, but if you don't think it through, you could just be missing out on damage.
Yeah, that's the same issue that Infinity End hits, where like it's good in this middle portion where you're not hitting damage cap, but once you get to a certain point, just double Braver is like always going to be better. There's a lot of places.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't.
I know a lot of casual people are like,
End.
I do love that move. I'm not gonna lie.
It's strong. It's 60 keep. It's on the Crystal Sword, which has attack and magic on it. I don't actually grab it. Depending on the runner, they might grab it. They might not. I use red.
Easy grabs it, or at least the route that I use grabs it for the boost on power cleave, because you use that for most of the end game.
We're not going to go through Dyne, but I just want to show off the. If you can time it right, you can get all this, all that stagger on him.
Plus, and on top of that, you're taking no damage, and if this is even half leveled up, like you could put level boost on it as well, and your ATB
can you level
would
boost it?
I believe so. Yeah, you can level boost ATB, and then
there's some things you can't.
Yeah, there's certain things. It's really weird. You would think it would just apply to everything, but
like, he'll just kill me. He doesn't want to do it. Level boost, like you can't level boost enemy skill, for example, which sucks because you do get strength on it. And in normal, we actually do use AP up, which gets us double AP, right? We pick it up early. We get it for our lightning, for our fire, stuff like that, and we end up putting it on E skill so that we get the strength up for the final, because we're in physical and endgame. At least I am. Might not be needed. Like overall, it's probably it's probably not worth it overall.
Yeah, like
But
this bar right here, to get this amount in like easy where the stagger is much lower, you have to have like 3 full combo lines, a focus shot, and a overcharge to get that far. Meanwhile, all you have to do is block like 1 round of bullets to get most of it.
Yeah, so normally what we do is something like this where we use bonus round. Now, bonus round, a lot of people, even me, I thought it was like a haste. It's not. It's actually like extra magazine that's attacking, and it's magic damage, and it does really good stagger. It's 1.5 stagger per hit as opposed to 1, and so on shots, I think it's 5, 10, 15, and 17 of his normal hit, it'll do a bonus round shot. And every hit of overcharge, which is 5 hits, it'll do a hit as well. So with overcharge, you get 5 hits. With a normal combo, you get 4. There's other scenarios where you summon him to do 1, which is where you do the R1 swap, or you have friendly fire, which we don't have, which in the Japanese version is called a Miko shot. So I like it. And it's a very good ability, but this is for stagger gain.
I mean, bonus round like really makes Barrett a much more comparable character. If it wasn't for bonus round, I don't really know if I could even consider him as viable.
Like, for example, if you wanted to get the bar up to where it was, like, look at how much this takes, right? We'd have to get him pressured. We'd have to keep shooting. You'd have to focus shot. And even then, he pushed before then. So, like, precision defense, you could decide to work it in if you wanted to. There's certain scenarios, like against Guy, you can do it if he does like the spectral flames. You can dodge those or block those flames and build up a lot of stagger if he's not staggered. It's still something to look at. Like, we don't have it. I don't have it in the route.
It would probably be something you could much easier justify as on a New Game Plus, because you end with like 12 materia slots or something. When everything's maxed out between, I think it's like 6 per your best armlets in the game, and then like 10, so it's like 16 actually.
Oh right, yeah. Materia count is definitely a thing. Scarlet, I wonder if I can get this to show. I want to demonstrate a bug. Now Scarlet has a few bugs, which we have found out, which are not patched. This fight we were with the girls, so we're basically stuck to magic for the most part, except Tifa.
I can tell you what the bug is right here, that this boss exists. Get me out of here.
It's very frustrating for people in a run to learn to do, even when we're working out strats. Ugh. Basically, the idea is that we do our synergy swapping here. Wrong button, but it's fine. But for example, I want to show something. Like if we do Fox Flame and we pull, they don't finish the animation. So you have to be really careful about this. See how we're not getting the animation. So you don't want to cancel it too early.
So you got to wait for a certain frame of the attack to show.
Yeah, you got to wait to actually attack. If I
only ever focused on synergy from a single character, so I didn't really realize that. That probably will make Scarlet a lot easier, actually knowing that I could just flop back and forth.
Yeah, but of course, like I showed there, you do have to be very careful to not cancel the ability. Depending on how you do it, like you can do this on Anuren Suppressor or Column. I don't really want to spoil the fight. I skipped the fight on purpose, so I don't show it. But that's one of the harder fights in the run, that mid-game. Like that, once you hit, then you can do your stuff, right? And this fight is basically just trying to get ATB for Aerith, more or less.
Yeah,
how you do it.
Breaking the arms is the goal here, so that we can push into the next phase.
I'm not going to do what my normal strat is. My normal strat will not push into the phase 1.5, we'll say. Yeah, you'll get Mako cannons.
For anybody that's run Intergrade, Yuffie, Intermission specifically, this is more or less the same fight. If you break the arms, she will just re-equip over and over again. You do have a bit of a downtime in between as long as you break them quickly enough.
I think I got it. Hold on, I'm going to show this. Just want to show this real quick. Okay, so look here. It's probably hard to see on the replay, but you see 2 numbers here. I use one Thundaga. But I got 2 numbers. This is the glitch. It does count the damage. Because when you break both arms, Scarlet appears, and you actually hit her and the body at once. And this is this bug. Yeah. And that's frustrating, and that's why we have to do this fight differently. Because now she goes up and gets her cannons, and we can't do anything. We can't hurt it. We got nothing, right?
Intermission had a similar thing where, like, if you hit her body, the mech body would count separately. So you could use magnified spells to get double hits, but that was beneficial. But I'm probably guessing that it's something similar where, like, it counts the body and the mech separately, and since she appears at the same time again, it's just like, well, you hit both. They're both in the hitbox.
Also, thing, I won't be able to reproduce it, but a thing here is, if you... I've only seen this happen to others, not to me, but sometimes, when you defeat unquote Scarlet, her main body, she gets pressured. Now, I've seen this where people have filled up the pressure bar and they can't stagger her. It won't stagger. No matter what you do, it won't.
Yeah, I've seen it a bit in Remake. I'm not surprised to hear that it's a lingering bug in Rebirth. Fortunately for me, I've never seen it personally, but you put enough runs down, you'll end up seeing this stuff and not be happy when you do.
Yeah. It's just... This is a very frustrating fight. You don't worry if it goes bad, honestly.
Luckily,
you just try to get through it.
Yuffie's Fox Flame always hits here, but like we said, her stats are kind of low. So Aerith really has to be the one to break the arms. So we're really just getting her ATB to pop the arms with Thunders. Exactly.
And in order to one-shot the arms, you need 204 magic. And I have 203 on my route. I can't realistically get more than that.
A little bit of a damage range.
I have to hit it once to make sure.
Yeah, maybe I'll grab that Timeless Rod because I have a heck of a time here. It might make my life a little bit easier.
Yeah. At this point, you would enter the final phase, and we can't... I think our stagger bar resets between phases as well, kind of like with
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of bosses, we try to manipulate the stagger bar into rolling over to the next phase. But here, we can't do that against her.
It's a common strat in Remake, Rebirth, even 16, you do the same thing. Sometimes you hold on to the stagger bar. This boss is more weak to physical, so we kind of need to force through it with Yuffie and with Tifa and to a lesser extent Yuffie.
Yeah, I don't actually have United Refocus in the route anymore, so I had to do it like this. Refocus is really good, and so is like Slip and Slide. I can demonstrate that.
Casually, I found United Refocus really frustrated me casually because of the high cost, and it felt like it in Remake, Refocus for a level 1 limit would be 5 minutes, and for a level 2 limit it would be 10 minutes. There was no way you'd spend more than 5 minutes in a fight. This one, it feels like it's got to be like 2.5 minutes for a refocus, which is so frustrating.
You mean the duration that it lasts?
Yes, the duration for refocus, yeah.
Yeah, this one is
really
so
long
short.
in Remake. And then, I'm spending 4 pips for, 2 minutes? What the heck? I'm already out of ATB by the time I've activated it. Come on, man. Especially because, some of the main use is, for... Yuffie has a secret attack when you get to the end of the folio, but it requires 3 ATB to use. So there's a few ways to get it, but it's just frustrating to try and get to that point to get it. The attack hits like a truck, but setting it up is impossible. I think it's Aerial Blast or Windstorm or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. It's
it's like the wind shuriken thing.
Level 9 or 10. A lot of characters actually get a hidden ability in their folio. So you have one ability for each one of the, I think it's 8 weapons, and then you get a Storm Fury. Yeah, that's it. It does a lot of work if you can fire it off. Because you have to burn 4 ATB to get to the United Refocus. Then you need to build the full bar of ATB to use it, which is unfortunate. Oh, this guy.
Oh, actually, we're gonna... Okay, I'll do this first. There's still some... I made a list of stuff I wanted to show off, but...
Sounds good. No hurry.
Hold on. This one... I gotta back up, but we'll do this. So, Dragon. This guy is annoying. Let's try to fight it real quick. This is not gonna end well.
Yeah, even in easy, he takes a while to go through, and he will eat some of your HP. This guy is not easy to clear. Oh, we're using
to do his move.
The route that I have uses the ingenious, so we're using power cleave here instead.
Well, no, we don't do this. We don't do this.
Well,
fight.
I mean, just in general, the route normally grabs ingenious for at least the one that I'm using.
Ignis. Okay.
Yeah,
it does. It's not equipped yet.
Okay, so you grabbed it, but yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I don't equip it until I buy my armor. You know, see, this thing is off. But you could route this properly, I guess, but this thing is ridiculous.
Yeah, right? Normal, that there's no way that that's worth your time. No way in heck.
So what you do is, you see how he's going over? I'll show this. We want to bait him out a bit. You need to pull him out a bit. Yeah. And the way to do that is on the right side, and he'll come forward. Because this boss has like a radius around him, and that's the battle zone, essentially. So he starts stepping over. We go over just to bait him out a bit. And actually, it's not going to work. Reset. You got to do it properly.
Perfect, like super consistent to the point where like you get it every single time. But you go to the right side, you bait him forward a little bit, and then as long as you stick to the walls here, you should be able to sneak around, even without really like spending a lot of time learning it. This skip is pretty easy, and it's really nice because this guy is a tank.
If you reset his aggro, I haven't explained resetting aggro, but if you get onto something hoppable or you get the dark red circle, you can reset the aggro, and enemies will go back to specific spots. But if you reset the aggro, it's not going to work. But what we can do is, it's not going to work, is it? Where is it? Where is it? Right there. Is this going to work? Let me see. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So you could,
this interaction is hilarious.
You can skip going under that, and you notice Yuki's not talking. And if we go under that, technically, if you do this correctly and then you go under that and back out, you can save like 1 second in total. It's not worth it because you can fail to do this correctly, of course. And then you would be able to continue. But I'm going to show what happens when you do this. This is dragon skip, literally the dragon skip, not the other dragon skip we have in the run, which is the mystic dragon. But you would go down these pipes, and they're supposed to be talking, right? There are the screamer enemies at the bottom on the other pipes if you go, and normally you would be pulling this thing over here, the vacuum thing, over to here and jump over it. But if you were to do the skip, the door is just open, just like that. And this encounter is not here with the twin brains. So we have stuff like this, and this is important to show. However, we have one slight problem in why this does not work as a skip. The elevator here that we would take is not active. We can't activate the elevator. I've tried so many things, and there's like no way to activate this. You can't. So you cannot progress. So this game has annoying hard-coded triggers. So it's along the lines of like I'm going to demonstrate something else for it too.
Which is kind of frustrating because you could take a more optimal line, and skipping the climb, the crawling segment would be really nice. Luckily, it doesn't do that in the end game.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Some of these are just consistent, some aren't. Is it this one? I think I set up a file for this. Okay. So this is in chapter 9. We're on the way in towards Specimen. We're supposed to go over here and do some stuff, but we have the Grand Horns. Now there's a thing. Hell Knight found this. So we're going to demonstrate it. All right, this isn't the right one. Oops. There's 2 spots here where we can do an up warp. You do this, you can get the golden collar without doing the puzzle. It's about the same time as just doing it normally.
Thankfully, 10K is not that hard to hit and easy. We really don't have much to buy.
Yeah, it does take I think 8 seconds to buy it. It's slightly slower to pick it up, but for me, I use red. I'm just stubborn.
Too bad you can't go back there, right? That would be cool if you could go back in and just skip the puzzle.
Yeah, you jump. You jump down, and here is the other up warp. This is the one that I originally found, where we skipped the cutscene and the water, and I had to grab the thing. Now, this is not long enough to reach, right? Of course, there's no way this could reach. Now, this is not worth it. It's slower to do it like this, but this is going to give us a lot of warnings. But what you can do is you can keep dropping this cable.
Oh.
And it gets closer and closer.
The strat.
This isn't used because it's slow, and you can, it can be like the same time, but yeah, you put it in and you roll to skip the animation. But as we can see, this cable is much longer than it looks. It's really stretching. Now, unfortunately, when you use this on Yuffie's segment, it doesn't work. The devs accounted for it there. They probably thought, it's a few steps, they might get it. They might be able to do it. It works here, but it doesn't work there. There, it would actually be useful because you have to do a bunch of climbing, right? And that's a shame. It's a shame that it doesn't work.
It takes quite a while to get all the way up there. Honestly, I'm very careful. I'm like, I would rather lose a second pushing this too far than having to go back up there. No way, no how.
So we can see all the whispers. Bye.
Spooky ghosts just waiting.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna do this twice because I want to show something else with it. We're gonna attempt this twice. So we would, okay, we're gonna go out the door. We have a boss fight. Well, we have some little algons we gotta fight. Saving date, unfortunately.
Nice soft
We can't do anything. We cannot do anything. You can, however, jump in the water here. Yeah, we can swim around. This is where you'd fight Specimen.
Surely there'll be a story trigger around here somewhere.
Yeah, it'd be nice, especially if it was like the part where you swim with Tifa.
It would be hilarious if there was like a dev trigger in the middle of the water in just some random spot, and you just skip this entire thing.
And this is where the whale pops out, we'll call it, of the water, and this is where you trigger the cutscene. But we can't get up there. We can't. So there's nothing here. And that would mean okay, well, that's the water trigger, where you're swimming would be somewhere around here. Well, it's not here. So unfortunately, this is not useful. However, this did lead to the discovery of an actual skip that we have, which is in the Temple of the Ancients. If we have enough time, we'll show it. But the important thing here is to remember when the circle is dark red, that dictates where it's going to usually put you back.
So can you do that up warp and then go to where the cutscene triggers normally anyway and progress properly, or does it break it completely?
Let me see if this one's active. Unfortunately, it would be slow, I think.
Yeah, because you'd have to double back. That's fair, yeah.
But there's another way to do this. You could say, okay, well, what if we just hit the trigger first and then we do it? But I'm going to show the story here. And this is what we'd be skipping, essentially. And, of course, climbing that big ladder. It doesn't take that long to get up, though. But this is kind of long, for what it is.
I mean, yeah, because it's probably, at least 15, 20 seconds versus, going into this and then skipping.
Okay, let's do it now. Okay, we hit the trigger, right? It should be fine. Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, because when combat resets, it resets certain things. So you never can tell.
There's some weird things that get reset. That trigger is still... It's fine. That trigger is fine, right? It doesn't reset the trigger. Well, I'm going to spoil it. It's not going to work. we know it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I wish...
Or
if you could use it... If you could use it to get over the water...
Go ahead.
It'd be nice if you could use it to skip this or something.
The swimming, yeah.
This fan, it's like turbine. This seems it's it's that padding stuff that they added to the game.
Yeah, because you could just walk into the cutscene, walk back, do the up warp, and then go. If this worked.
Yeah, and the whispers are gone. That's a nice thing. And we get the dialogue, but it's still not going to work. And that's because when you jump off into the water, Kate says something. And apparently there's a trigger there, I guess. So they really didn't want you skipping things. Maybe they knew how broken Remake was.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
From the amount of like combat changes I've seen compared to Intergrade, I am 100% certain they watched several speedruns and they're like, no, this will not, you will get what we give you, and that is all you're getting. That's yeah. As soon as you walk into this room, it should be triggering a boss fight. Well, a couple of random enemy encounters and then a boss fight.
Yeah.
So that's how we know we're soft locked.
We just don't have any way to make use of it. But it's important to remember this stuff because eventually, it could come a day where it is useful, and it is useful because that the way the upwork works with that like encounter ring, that is what led me to discover the Panthera and Dragon skip thing.
Who knows? Maybe they'll change something up when they finally release the PC report, and they'll change something that makes it easier. I was so sad that Dragon Claws is slower here.
It's not. If you do it right, it's actually the same speed.
So
if you're good at it.
In a normal speed run, what we do is we just stand around and kick all of these boxes around and just let the timer run out and hit the bare minimum of the score requirement.
I did work at it hard, and it's actually about the same time if you do it correctly.
Yeah, because you have to spend like 30 seconds waiting it out. So if you can more or less get good at this, you can spend that 30 seconds you're waiting clearing the minigame instead. The big thing here is that like you parry and then cancel it with your dodge roll will give you really fast movement. It's not the fastest, but in this minigame, it's definitely faster than they expected you to get away with.
Is it left? So I haven't done this in a while. There is a problem with this. So if you break those power boxes, these 200 boxes come out, right? I don't think there's any more.
Yeah, sometimes they get yeeted into the sun.
Yep, the first one was a problem. It can hit. If you know the advanced one, there's like a little section you have to go down. It's on top of these like slum roofs near the end. If I recall, one of the boxes can get launched up there. It's active. That area is active.
It's so frustrating.
And we have no way to get it. You can't get to it.
In easy runs, I've seen my 200s just disappear before too, and I'm just like, really? It's so frustrating.
Yeah, it's Can I see it? It's like, where is it? So from there, it's like around that corner and up, and it gets stuck on a thing. And
yeah,
that's one of the reasons why like Dragon Claws isn't a thing. I mean, I could make it a thing. Star Shower, I did some testing. It's okay, but Star Shower isn't as useful as in the first game because we don't have the Fury Ring. That's what makes.
Yeah, that plus 30% is pretty dope. Because the other thing
and remember,
too is, go ahead.
Star Shower is a 70% multiplier. I'm pretty sure after all of that. So it's the 1.3 times 1.7 is how I think that works. And that's why it was so powerful. And that's why Tifa is spammed so much. Even in normal, we ended up switching the strat from using Magic and Valk to just use Star Shower and Valk.
Yeah, the thing is like, because Omni Strike is so buff, at least in Intergrade, you can uppercut, cancel it with parry, and spam it. So getting multiple Star Showers is really easy. And in this version, all your ATB recovery is from Omni Strike. And then that 30% damage multiplier every time you apply it ends up just being a little bit better, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course, because they're staggered. Yeah. But Dragon Claws doesn't have the I don't know.
I think it has slightly better stats too, but not really enough to justify.
It has them early on, and you get no materia, but whatever. You get the attack plus 20. Like it has more, and it has this one, enhanced techniques. So increases damage dealt by unique abilities by 15%. So if you're using Omni Strike, and you have like that test of it does actually end up being more damage than Kaiser Knuckles, but that's only when the enemy is staggered.
Yeah, Star Shower is really most beneficial when you're going into a limit to guarantee the 99999.
Of course, yep. That was, or if you had like Dolphin Fury, something that hits multiple times, like Somersault is 2 hits.
I will say, Go ahead.
Again, you could get to the point where you're wasting damage.
Yeah, because it's just too much and you hit a damage cap anyway. So like either you're throwing out too much and you're overshooting the 999 or you're hitting a damage cap. Honestly, like hope that thought's gone. Off into the stratosphere it goes.
It's just, Cloud's just so much more useful because he's the only one with access to Berserk.
Yeah.
Whereas, in Remake, you could put the Fury Ring on whoever needed it.
Yeah, because you only get the Fury Ring from like a very late game side quest, and you only get
in this one.
Yeah, you get it in hard mode. There's another one that's similar that gives a 15% damage buff. So I'd imagine because it's not Berserk, you give that to Cloud, so Cloud can self Berserk, and you probably give the Berserk Ring to either Tifa or Aerith most of the game for that damage buff. That's like another thing is like for hard mode, like I probably would just straight up ban. There's one that breaks damage limit, and then there's also HP MP swap materia. And as we mentioned earlier, as you take damage, your limit builds. And if you perfect guard, you take 0 damage, but the game still calculates your limit gain based on that. So if you use HP MP swap, you go down to 10s or 100s of HP. So a single perfect guarded hit will just fill your limit bar immediately. And since limits are invincible, you can just loop it in such a way that you instantaneously just refill your limit. But to me,
I would show it if I knew how to do it and if I had hard files set up or whatever.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I've never really tested it out, but there's a lot of like videos of it on YouTube of people like
you can
soloing. Go ahead.
You can activate it, like, again, with not just Perfect Guard, but with activating Red's Vengeance. For example, I use that on Mythro Golem because we do want limit there. And so on the first phase, because we use physical there, of course, but on the first phase, you block a hit, and on the second hit, you Vengeance through it.
You know what? That's probably part of the reason I have so much issue with Gina Talk, that I'm not using Vengeance to block certain attacks to build
Gina
more
Talk
limit.
Gi is hard. He's a very difficult fight, and it takes a lot of time to get used to him because his damage output, he's like way overtuned, right? It's absurd.
It's like they saw Ghoul and they're like, oh, that boss is fair. Yeah, we need to make Ghoul unfair. And Ghoul was already unfair because he could launch into the furniture and become pretty much invincible. I don't know why the undead bosses in all these games are so bad, but...
And we can't use just an elixir or whatever to defeat him because he has a resistance to fix the damage, so he takes 10% damage from it.
I was so frustrated when I realized that was a thing. I was like, cool, I'm running any percent. I don't need to bother with Gina Talk. And then I looked at the fight and I'm like, why aren't we just using an elixir? You get to use elixirs, but on the normal enemies. It's super cool.
Oh,
yeah, I feel you with that.
If we have
throwing the boxes here are awful.
So this is a part that people don't like. Pretty much the way people look at it, from what I've seen, is nobody likes this.
Yeah, they did a good job in giving every character an area where you play as that one character as the party leader. Yeah. But they overtuned the enemies in this area to make it extremely difficult if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. And a lot of people, they don't understand Kate's mechanics. Now, Kate is actually an exceptional character.
He is.
He has, we'll see, his iframes. You can iframe pretty much everything. And the Moogle, when you're casting, will still do things and still attack. So you have like 2 characters almost.
So it may look like a waste of time to open that box, but that box has the golden megaphone, and it has the highest attack stat. For
attack and magic. I tried to find a way to cut it out, but I can't get through yin yang.
It feels so bad, but when you see the damage increase, you're just like, you know what? Never mind. Maybe this ain't so bad. The bad room is the accelerant room. I'm decent at it, and I still hate it. I didn't realize till recently that if you turn the camera away from the funnel, it won't move. I was like, wait a minute. Why is that still where wait a minute.
That's something I found. So there's a thing here. There's a force trigger if you want to try to get around this. This comes into play later as well. 2 other parts in the run. But if you were to retry, it's not worth it in this one because it's slower. But if you retry, well, all of a sudden you can get around it.
Luckily, in easy, you can just clear these really quick with the Spellbound Blast.
Yeah, we still do that for this one. Just because I timed it out.
The one thing you got to be mindful of is actually the rolling with Kate Shi. If you jump into a combat with Kate Sith and are rolling, he actually will not act for a short period of time. So you can get locked out of Spellbound. Yep, it's that locks you out of Spellbound Blast. So you got to be careful about it.
I get that on the Bob, but the first enemy, and sometimes I'm like, what is going on? I didn't realize that's what it was.
I realized it on the very first enemy when I was messing with it. I was like, wait, what? Oh my, that. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. That's so high.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful though, because you can break it if you're not careful.
I see.
Yeah. But normally you would go over here. I'm going to demonstrate something with it as well. And you would pull this over and you hit the thing here and it drops on the thing and then you can grab the box and throw it.
Yeah,
but
you pull a little cart so that the boxes won't break when you drop one.
Yeah, so you can just throw it through here, basically. But I want to show something.
I'm doing that next run because I've missed that stupid thing one too many times.
So you have to remember, you don't throw here. You got to wait for it to lock.
Throw the lever,
Yep. Otherwise, you throw this, and then well, now you have to do it normally, and you waste the time, right?
Yep.
And it's put on the other side of the gate so that we don't accidentally break it in combat. I can roll right into this and break it.
Yeah.
However, I'll show something.
The intended mechanic is to grab this because there's a pipe that'll drop a box, but if it drops it on the steel floor, it'll crack immediately.
Yeah, and this breaks the fall. Oh, but where am I going? What am I doing?
That's a good question.
Where am I going? Oh my god, am I going to the door?
Oh, please tell me this is a thing. Wait, that means you have to do the rest of this solo. No, never mind. I take that back. I hope this doesn't work.
No, it's not the right angle.
The worst part too is you have to remember to bring your Moogle out as well.
Yeah, if you grab it, you do it. Yeah, so unfortunately, we can see what happens here, though. I just was looking for things and saw this. We can't get through the gate, even if I press triangle. I tried all kinds of things, but if you get stuck, the thing pushes you upwards, I realized. So maybe if we could get stuck in a wall geometry, the game would actually give us a zip. It'd be a slow zip, but maybe you could go up. But
get above the wall, and since the wall probably doesn't have collision, you just fall through it by holding left. That would be neat.
So that's a little thing I was looking into, but it has no use yet, and I can't get through the thing, which is unfortunate, but you know, whatever.
I mean, with Vanilla Remake, there was a lot of skips, and for a while we didn't think they were possible in Integrate, but it turns out there was a way to set it up. It just was really difficult. So there may be some things once we get a hold of the PC version. These boxes are like the most fickle. Sometimes they give you like 20 mega potions, and other times they give you like 3 potions and some gravity. That's it.
Some boxes are set, what they give you, like the ones in Yuffie's Swinging and Mount Corral. And when we do the box throwing minigame, that's a set one as well. It doesn't matter which ones you do. But you have to be careful when dodging through here. You can actually get here before you're out of the fire encounter, and you trigger this encounter, and the other enemies are active. They will all come over here, and you have to call your party. It's bad. So you have to make sure you wait.
Oh, I've never managed to run into that yet.
I've only done it once in testing.
Not one of those things you want to see. Yeah, so this room is like casually one of the roughest. The only reason I'm any slight of decent at this is the Hades armlet that you can get in here is actually the best armlet that you can get multiple times. So if you're going to do hard mode, you have to grind out Hades armlets here to fill everybody's armor.
We have this, you have to throw it in the red thing. One cycle of this is 20 seconds. But I'm going to look down real quick. Give it a bit. Okay, it's probably on the other side now.
Yeah, it should have.
Yep. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to grab a box. Now, the box is... Now, it's probably gone all the way to the other side, right? Well, no, it's still there, see? Because what's going to happen is it's not moving. You have to look at it or see its shadow. So what we can do is you can do a double throw here. It takes some practice, but if it's done right...
That's slick. I didn't even think about that.
And there you go, you get a double. A backup would be, as soon as that starts moving, you throw it into the small bowl if you missed one. Now, there was one really unfortunate thing that's happened in practice to me. I threw both in there, and they got stuck on each other and blocked the hole. Yep,
you can soft lock on a single box, too. I've done it in practice. It's so stupid. Yep. I was like, excuse me, what? Oh. This game...
You can have that issue with one?
Yeah. I didn't know it could soft lock. I was about to mention it after, and then when you said you got it on both boxes, I was like, that's cute. I don't think it happens very often, but it can happen if it falls in a really weird way.
I've only had it happen like once.
I would imagine it's somewhat more common with two boxes, but it may be the opposite, actually, because of the way they fall. But who knows? It's... The one thing is like, that's unfortunate with this, is Rebirth gives you a lot of autosaves, but if you're like used to 16, the thing autosaves after literally every fight. This one, the autosaves are nowhere near as forgiving, so you have to be a little bit more careful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here we have another example where you can hit the force trigger to get around the encounter. That Bob is being annoying. Whereas normally you try to do this and you get the encounter, but this one is in fact faster to just on normal, faster to skip it, because killing the pumpkins, that takes forever.
The funny thing is, I always thought you needed a box here.
Oh, you have to be careful. If that red circle's active and you press square, you'll get the encounter. So I just go to the corner here and hit it.
Bonk. It's so weird because like I didn't realize it until another runner pointed out to me like, hey, you can just punch that, and I'm like, what? And there was a couple of runs I just legitimately forgot that, and then I remembered eventually.
Bro, the bats. Sometimes enemy location is annoying.
Yeah, the bats move pretty rapidly, so they can be quite a struggle to get around. Luckily on like easy, it's just like, forget it, I'll just kill him. But in normal,
so when you go around and they're aggroed onto you, like they've seen you, and you get the red circle and wait, they de-aggro, like enemies do that. That's a very key thing for the adjudicator skip, which we will be demonstrating for the old way. I'm going to demonstrate all three versions, if you can remember the first. Most people won't know about the first because...
What a YOLO throw, holy badoobas. Yeah, so you would have to come up to here every single time because the chest in here is the Hades armlet. So I'm really used to doing this segment. I did a little bit of grinding too. Oh, OG skip. The OG skip.
Adjudicator. These are obnoxious. When you pressure them with physical, they'll become immune to physical and you can't remove it, the shield, and vice versa with reflect. And you have to essentially switch what you're using. Now, they take forever to kill anyways. Like, this is an awful fight. You probably have to have wind or something. I don't know. I don't even know how to handle it.
They're weak to lightning. So it's either Moogle to kill or Thunder to kill is really the only way to deal with it. Yeah, and there's not enough space to even exit combat. It's the worst.
If you're scared of them, you can actually hide here. They cannot get you. you can sit here and get ATB. They can't get you if you want to fight
Casual them. Me wishes I knew this.
Yeah, but of course we're not going to do that.
The big difference is like his square attacks are usually magical. And the triangle attacks are his physical, which is like one of those things people don't really pick up on. There's just a lot of subtle differences. The
note waves from his megaphone are the magic, and then of course you can do physical with square. It's a bit wonky fighting without the Moogle, but the OG skip is actually this. Actually, we only need two. Most people are not going to know about this because I don't think I ever showed anyone.
Oh,
you would have you would have to go over here, de-aggro, throw the boxes up, and then you have to go around and you have to jump up here like you normally would. Now that's horrible, of course.
That sounds awful. The most unhinged And I can't say that I blame you because fighting these guys is awful. Anything to skip this fight. I would do anything.
Yeah, that fight, that's the first thing I found. And then I was going to go to bed and I laid down. And then this happens to me with games all the time, by the way. I go to lay down and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what if we do a save load?
Vault. Yeah.
Is that going to give me? And just like that, like you can also do little hops on the edge of these. And when you're doing that, the enemies don't build aggro.
I'm going to tell you, that is not as easy as that looked.
It's quite difficult. You can't touch this part, that square part, the big square part, or the ramp, or anything. So we can hop up from the other side. It'll trigger the fight. You can only do this here.
And you can't even hit the area in front of the ramp, or it'll trigger the fight. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Imagine like doing this, like, what is it, 5 hours into the run, and you're just like, well, my run lives or dies here.
So you can't open the menu right here, but if you back up a bit, you can. And so what you do is, the idea was like, does the box respawn? And it does, because there's mini checkpoints here actually.
Yeah, this was such an interesting interaction. Yeah.
And we just do this, and we do the third one, and then we just go up with it. We break the box and then go up, and it does work just like that. However, we're gonna show the newest one now. Unfortunately, when I de-aggroed the enemies, they got right in front of that spot where I had to go in a run. It was a really good run, and I lost 2 minutes to skip, even though my consistency was like 80 to 90%.
Yeah. No matter how good you are, the enemies just do whatever they want, and sometimes it's just impossible.
I was so mad. So I came here right after it, and I decided I'm gonna find something. So I sat around practicing, and I was like, you know what? Well, I've done this in another game where something has loaded, popped me up, and I'm like, that's where we need to go. Well, what if we go on these pallets? And I came over here, and I was on the Moogle. I was like, maybe it raises me up enough so I get pushed through. Now, if I had been here, I'm going to show you why this was a lucky accident a little bit. The idea was correct. Oh, actually, it worked. Well, whatever.
This skip is so good. I forgot to learn it before a run and managed to YOLO it on the second try. That's how consistent this is.
I tried to show how to mess it up, but there's a wall here, so we can see you don't actually need the Moogle. There's a right corner. There's a left corner. We need to be on the right corner. You just go in, you save, and you load, and it pops you up through. This is like a godly skip. It takes what was extremely obnoxious, makes it less than 15 seconds.
The elevator too.
Yep, you skip the save loads, you skip breaking that, you skip them. It's everything. This is the best skip we've got so far.
Yeah. It's like one of those god skips. The only way that there could be a better skip is if we could skip like most of this segment.
Yeah, exactly.
If we could skip the accelerant room, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I might look at that again at some point. That would be nice. That room itself does actually take a long time, doesn't it?
I really appreciate mini skips like this versus like whole area skips. Because you just skip like annoying stuff, but you don't like skip an entire segment and be like, well, I'm not going to interact with this at all. And this guy can be just... Go ahead.
Kate, we do these spins. It builds stagger quickly. You actually need Sonic Boom with this setup. But if you want an iframe, you just tap the analog to the side, and he twirls away. And it's really good.
Ooh.
If you can time it right. Or another thing is, if you wanted to reload your Moogle, you could just pop up on it and get its health back again.
The one nice thing too is when you summon the Moogle and it hits an enemy, you actually get ATB from it as well.
Yep, as long as you hit them, of course. How much does
Which
that do?
is really important because almost all of Keiichi's gimmicks rely on the Moogle being out, if not every last one of them. I think like the only thing he can do is magic and enemy skills and stuff.
Yang, this fight is obnoxious. This is why we need the golden megaphone, especially on normal. Like you just can't do enough damage to this boss without it.
I think like the only other outside of buying one, I think the closest is either like in the Gongaga airstrip or in the back of the I think there's the one in the back of Cosmo Canyon, but it takes like a minute to get in there, even if you come from the backside.
The crystal one, yeah. I'm not paying attention, am I? But yeah, yin and yang. If it's yin, he does physical attacks and is resistant to physical. When you do enough damage, perfect. I want to show it. You'll see purple around him. That means one of the heads is gone, which means you need to switch your attacks. This means that yin is not active. Yang is now active. So we need to use physical abilities at this point to finish it off. This doesn't matter on the setup for yin because we would have Sonic Boom and we just blow him up with Flyraga. Now, if it's yang, if I can get yang, this one does magic and it takes a little longer. We interrupt Thundaga with Fyra and we do some damage. And you got to pay attention with this setup though, and make sure that you see the purple before you try to blast them with Flyraga. Otherwise, you're hitting a resistant enemy, and that's not going to end well.
Luckily and easy, you can kind of brute force it with between Moogle Knuckle and the Fyra, since he takes enough damage. Moogle Knuckle is like actually really strong. That's part of the good thing from Golden Megaphone having that. It functions like True Strike or Omni Strike. It hits like a truck and it pushes the stagger multiplier up too. It really gives him his own actual like choices in combat. The only downside is like he needs to be on top of the Moogle, so like trying to get Moognux to land or any Moogle attack to land can be quite rough.
Yeah, you pretty much need to do it yourself. So you Moogle Knuckle, it gives 40% to the bar, and then you just blast them. It's a very amazing ability, honestly. Kate is way better than people give credit for. It's just the wind up to get to that point kind of sucks. But you can use like our cleaves to give him ATB, and it's not so bad. Or like Spellbound Blast with Aerith, like on Forgotten Specimen. We do that to get him, and then we just blast with some Augurs.
It kind of stinks that this minigame is required, but I'm not going to say no to the elixir. But it is like casually this just I could not do this.
Ether, high ether, elixir, and like some mats that we don't need. It's all the same every time, thankfully. No matter which one you break, if I break the first one first or the second one, it doesn't matter. Oh, I suck. Basically, the idea is you need to aim for one conveyor or one light ahead. If it's on a light, you would aim for the next light. Like,
yeah,
it
depends.
Hit the light, we aim for that.
You got to learn to lead your shots. Everybody kind of has their own thing, but it depends on which side you're aiming from, honestly. If you're aiming from this way, then you can do it like this. I might switch to it. I usually aim like 3 lights ahead, but I'm on the left side throwing right, which is probably slower. Yeah, because I'm on the other side of the boxes, which I never really thought to stand right under the
thing, yeah.
Yeah, which
also,
probably saves time.
Annoying thing, I'm glad I missed that, is you can accidentally press L3. It's so easy. Like when you turn on auto run, and this happens. Yeah.
Hey, you want to use the touchpad?
You can't throw. No. So you have to realize the shape of it. It needs to be round.
Yeah, because if you have to like hold the touchpad and then pull.
Oh, you have to hold that first.
Yep.
And it's so hard. You have to drag it so hard.
It's like the feedback on the shoulder buttons. You're just like, could you please turn this off? I don't think I'll ever get platinum because of the frickin' squats, or not the crunches and frickin' the mini game. Ugh.
I use the haptic feedback for the L2 R2 stuff because it'll tell me when I can push the button before I can do it visually. I don't like it visual. Something I realized here on the safe code recently. I used to be bad at this, and I realized this very recently. Is you don't need to like turn and release. You can just hold. If you want to go 1, you just go very slowly, just like that. Or if you want to just go, whereas I think it's 36, just very slowly. I thought it was like you had to like kind of turn it and release, like flick it, but it's not like that at all. Yeah, this is. It took me a long time to realize how to actually do this correctly.
Yeah, that and then like either memorizing the number too.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
The number is the same every time. It's right here on the wall as well behind this stuff. It's the same as in the OGR as well. I think it's the same number.
I'd like started learning it, and I was doing commentary for Creative Ellie's run for Limit Break, and he's like, "Yo, do you know what the code is?" And I just rattled it off, and he's like, "Wow." Like, no, they put it in Rebirth. I have to know it. I want to bully Roche for a second. So Roche,
He's an enemy that'll dodge a lot. This normally you go for a counter, but he has a chance to do his fire attack, and that can really screw you over just like that. So I didn't even let him do it. I just do a sonic boom, and then I do like thrust and mess it up, of course. But the goal was to like stagger him as fast as possible.
It's deceptively simple visually, but once you've practiced it a bit, you kind of understand. He can be very annoying.
So you can't just hold square the whole time either.
Yeah.
Because you'll actually go into the air if you do that on accident. It can happen.
The funny thing is that can be beneficial. Braver actually does more damage if you're in the air.
Yep. I just want to do this. This is not how you do it, but you can sit here and pass through him and keep bullying him just nonstop with Sonic Boom.
Yeah, obviously aiming for the stagger is definitely what you want to do, but
yeah, you don't want to do this. And eventually after enough time he's going to use like Soul Cleave or something, stuff like that. Braver, oops, that's not right. A Braver does in fact do more damage, of course. In the air it goes from 400 power to 520, so it is stronger. It has its uses on Red Dragon, for example. You cannot call your Chocobo. I didn't know that could happen.
Yeah, it'll give you a pop-up. Yep, it's neat. It lets you call the Chocobo that you don't have and goes, hey, by the way, you don't have a Chocobo. And you're like, thanks. Cool.
And you just have to sit there. Yeah.
Yep. I heard you wanted more tutorials.
I guess I don't have it.
We're gonna show off Dingus. Oh, no.
I guess we can do this. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll be showing off like one of the hardest fights here.
This fight is obnoxious. Basically, you have to pressure one of them to get the other to be mad at that person, and they target them, and then you can hit them with someone else, and it'll pressure them. That's how all the Turks fights work, unless it's Sung and Elena, and he just doesn't care. Sometimes he doesn't care. He ignores it, and you have to reset the fight. But this fight, it never happens to me in runs where Rude opens with his physical attack. That would give me a very good fight. But instead, what I have to do is pay attention. If he does Shockwave, I have to go for Elena and do a triangle cancel out of the air. That'll knock us down. And then we press triangle to do pass through swipe. And that'll be 50 cut. That'll pressure her. And if I don't do that quick enough, she'll do her hit scan stun grenade. She kicks a grenade. It'll hit someone. It has hit scan. It's not going to miss. You try to pull the character. It will get them every time. You cannot avoid it. So, and if you pull like a character for a synergy ability, it hits them and collaterally hits Cloud as well. So you've got two characters done. So this is obnoxious at best. So we made Rude mad, tap him, and we're going to demonstrate Arrow. So Arrow Mag, we're going to pull them both in.
Oh,
and now
this is a really interesting interaction.
And now they're both here, and so we're just going to Thundaga them both. And you can just get like collateral damage out.
Yeah, normally it's really hard to get multi-hits with Thundaga, but if you get enemies close enough, the higher tier spells do have a wide enough hitbox to hit both.
Yeah. Different spells have different AoE, of course, just like Remake. Here, it just so happens that Aerith has lightning on, and Elena is weak to it.
Fire and ice were like the go-tos in Remake. But,
so here, we could kind of do whatever. We can wait this out, or we can use a synergy ability to knock him out of it. It's usually a little more consistent to do it like this. That way we get ATB. So the idea is smack, queue up Thundaga, pull him in. It didn't get him. I didn't pull her in. That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll do it like this then.
The magnified spells can sometimes whiff.
It's okay. The reason it whiffed is actually because the AI decided to hit her while she was pressured. This is more of a problem on Chapter 3, and so she didn't get pulled in.
Yeah. The AI
that's about it.
Does some really cursed stuff. The frustrating part with the AI is mainly that like its ATB building is nerfed, and it just often doesn't do what you need it to.
Actually, I'll start with this. I tried to get it. If you skip that cutscene when you defeat them, unlike the first couple frames, you get a bug here, and it's where these girls are. They're watching, but you'll be controlling Tifa, and Cloud will be fighting on his own as the AI. You're stuck in the door. You can't do anything. You try to use an action, it'll do the Tifa will try to throw an item animation, and that's it. Like, nothing happens, and you can in fact game over.
Rufus is already impossible enough. No, thank you. Absolutely not.
So Rufus is easy to explain. He will do 6 bullets. On hard mode, he has 8 bullets, and then he'll reload unless he does guns akimbo, and it's the ground one, and then he uses them all. If he does the aerial one and you block it, he comes in and hits you, and he gets his bullets back. So you don't want to block the aerial one. That one. If I block that, he will have his bullets. So he reloads.
Oh.
We do a bunch of hits. We keep our damage down on normal so we don't push on accident. But if we keep going with our attacks, we're going to see he's going to counter right here. One more. Well, he didn't get me. He'll counter you if you keep on the pressure. You can do all kinds of different things. You can do Punisher. You can do Operator. I stay in Operator, and that's so that I don't do too much damage. If you go into phase 2 with no AD, you're going to be in trouble. So the idea is I do 3 full combos here and then 4 there, and then we tank that shot with Prime Mode with 60 keep, because that will knock you out if you try to do Braver. So you tank it. Or you can throw an item. If you had like low health from Turks, you just throw an item instead.
I guess literally anything triggers the stagger, huh?
It's got to be Braver.
Okay.
I use Braver there. So you do Prime Mode to tank his counter.
Oh, you primed into Braver. Okay, yeah. I missed that.
Yeah.
I know Infinity End does it too, but that's like, good luck.
Oh, it'll automatically stagger him.
That's
so
what
we do
I've
it
heard.
again to tank that shot, and then we do Braver. But if you're too slow, that happens. Don't worry, I'd never be too slow in a run.
Rufus is a very hard fight. The gimmick is if you hit him with Braver or Infinity End on reload, it'll instantly stagger him.
And then, of course, you can't do your normal combo because you're in Prime Mode. So this is absolutely a fight that you need to do correctly, no matter what.
Yes. So in Remake, this was a lot easier because you could just bait him to counter you with like a triple slash or a regular attack, roll out of it to dodge the beam, and then he'd auto reload. Then you just Braver, easy GG. See you later, dude. This guy is world apart.
So you guys must have dropped. You must have dropped sleep then, because I used to just sleep.
You could
at the
sleep.
start.
You could stop. In hard mode, what we do is we open with a triple slash on the final phase. He blocks it and then does the beam attack. You roll to the side and then just hit him with Braver and he gets staggered.
Okay.
It's super nice. That's why the fight's doable blindfolded. If it was, if triple slash didn't auto target, it'd be like, nope.
So when I would do the sleep, I have done it blindfolded. When I do the sleep, I had to guess if he went left or right, kind of based on the audio. It was pretty tough to do it like that.
Sleep is rough if you're trying to do it blindfolded, because the main issue is if you actually hit him, you wake him up, and you want to wake him up with a Braver, or you want to wake him up before the Braver. It's weird too, because like I think that's the reason you don't want to use stop, because if you don't hit him after stop with a Braver, he won't get staggered. It's super weird. But like him, this guy in Reno, I find a lot of people ask for advice for that in Remake. And he's just as deadly here too.
Yeah. And then he gets his dog, and there's multiple ways to handle this. In a run, we pretty much don't need to worry about it. If you don't have ATB boost, you would just get ATB by cleaving the dog. If you're attacking the dog, you won't wake up Rufus with your attacks. I'll show it. Normally we would, so I do a triple Oski to separate them, and then I do my ATB boost, and then I smack him, and then he'll be awake. But what we can do, if you needed ATB, for example, you can see I'm hitting Rufus. It doesn't matter. But as soon as I hit him, he wakes up.
Oh! All right, so that explains why
wrong.
I have so much issues here.
Holy cow, I did not realize the dog. I wasn't expecting the dog to attack me. I'm glad I could counter that.
Yeah, I never realized that if you're targeting the dog, he just goes, yeah, I don't care. But as soon as you target him, okay, now I understand how this fight works a little bit better.
Yeah, if something went wrong, you can back it up by going for the dog. If he attacks you and they're both up and it's going nuts, and the dog comes from you, you can switch to Punisher and you'll automatically kick the dog off and it lectures or something, but it shouldn't get to that point.
Yeah, Rufus is just he's very challenging because it comes at the end of a very long gauntlet, and it's not really like easy to get a good save and practice at all. There's some fights that are just
you have to go through
practice.
turns.
Yeah.
That segment has like other encounters before it. You do the lackeys, which basically you're cleaving and you're using arrow to pull them all in, and then you just obliterate the whole group at once. You have the cactuars, which you just react to. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Only killing the last one quickly is what matters because they're on like a timer. The third one, Dawnberry, you just have to be careful. On normal, we can't just spam stuff.
I've got chef knifed a few too many times, and I'm just like, well, I deserve that, but I'm also mad.
Yep. You absolutely have to have a plan going into that fight or you die. We pretty much just tank through Karma with Prime mode, and if he's doing other things, we use like Sonic Boom, Power Cleave, stuff like that. And then you have Apps-chan, which is easy enough. You just kind of blow him up. It's really not that hard. Just don't get too greedy. That's like a boss where if you have to choose where you want to hold for your counter or attack, you choose to just wait. Red Dragon is also the same, but Red Dragon can actually kill you quick.
We've been firing off these cleaves left, right, and center, but one of the things that may not be obvious is we need to charge it up a little bit. So if we just kind of throw those out, we can end up whiffing because the boss moves. We won't. There's almost nothing that can knock you out of it in easy, but in normal, it's not so much.
Yeah,
but
you get tapped by anything and you'll be knocked out of it. Absolutely. Yep.
It hits like a truck, builds a ton of ATB, but you have to know what you're doing with it.
And it gives ATB to both characters as well. That's really important. We use that to funnel ATB.
I feel like it's really overtuned, honestly. If there's something that's too strong in this game, I think the guard synergy attacks are probably the most busted.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They wanted you to use it because they spent so much time on it, but it's too strong. It's just one of those things, Even here, we try to prioritize it if we can get it off.
I honestly, I would like to see it debuffed, but in, terms of a speedrun, I would rather not make my life harder. Oh, that's actually really smart. You have to wait. Go ahead.
So you do have to wait here for a moment, but if you press R1 or L1, it takes you to your next scenario, and here you press up and you'd go into walking.
That'll save some time.
You don't go directly to the Tiny Bronco because it has a longer load. But the reason I did this was I wanted to show something else. We're gonna go to Cosmo. Where is it? I don't know the map right here. Here? Okay. I don't know if I can do this. I'll try. So this was the Chocobo. We're going to the Chocobo. I don't know if it worked. I don't know if they patched this stuff. I have no idea. They've done patches on this game, and they say they're very vague. They're not like F16's patches where they tell you exactly what they did. But here it's just we patched something for combat.
I was talking with another runner, and there was some moves that actually got stealth buffed even in the 16 patch. There are a few moves that do more damage now or recharge quicker. Another one's it's not in the patch notes.
I know.
So testing is always important.
Yep, Ice Age has been buffed in that, the big old punch. But here, we have no idea what they patched. I could not figure anything out. All the bugs that I know of are still in here. The switch glitches. There's a problem in this game where if you have R1 held and you release it and you press a button 1 frame afterwards, you get a buffer input. So if you your Punisher counter and you release it and you try to press square to attack, you might accidentally get start doing a synergy ability at the wrong time, which could be bad. This can also happen with switching characters. Unfortunately, you get the switching character audio, but it doesn't switch, and you got it. Okay.
You have to be super careful because if you're trying to mash to buffer inputs in boss fights, you cannot do that in this version. Remake, you could. But I think integrate, it may have been something that was introduced in integrate, but you could hold to and then buffer inputs in remake. There are between this remake and 16, you could make the perfect game, Rebirth is probably the best out of the three, but there are things that could be added to this from Remake and 16 to make this better. Oh, please tell me this works. Oh, baby! You've got my attention.
So you're supposed to do some stuff here. I don't know what to do. I never did this casually.
You have to do this really weird thing where you gotta like hide behind the cart and then hit the switch so that you can keep moving the cart. It's
that switch.
It's very long. It's very long.
I'll try to do. I wanted to show this for sure. This is not used, of course. We don't use this in the run. We don't get the chocobo.
Yeah, we don't get chocobos. This right here, like honestly, this first one's really weird because you're always going to get caught if you don't know, right? Because you have to move around that chocobo. So it's like, wait, how do I progress? So this, I could see how you would resolve to this being the solution. You're like, well, I guess I'll just got to get to the checkpoint.
So a thing here, if you look at the exclamations, you'll see as we're grabbing rocks, they're not going up.
Ooh. It buffers their attention?
I didn't get it. Well, anyways, you get the idea. You get into the grass and you catch it. Now, luckily, we don't have to do this, but if you work at it hard enough, it's probably faster than doing all of this, you know, if you practice it.
That's pretty cool. Luckily, we only have to be in here once, so it's in New Game Plus, we could just warp to Cosmo Canyon, then back. In New Game, you'd only have to walk to Cosmo Canyon, then you can warp directly to the Bronco. So, unless we were going to do side quests to get, I think it's Synergy is in Nibelheim. There's a decent materia in there, but it's like 70 points, so it's just not going to happen. Cosmo Canyon's like stuff you can get is super overpriced, just really overpriced.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a skip here. This is something that was found on easy. Essentially, well, I'll show it. I'll show the normal way first, I guess. Let's just. Oh man, I'm so bad. Okay, that should be enough. It should be slow enough like this. Okay, so eventually what happens is, let's just say you were kind of bad and, you know, oh god, we were too slow doing this skip.
The casual experience. Yeah.
What happens is these two encounters come over. There's a ton of guys and you have to kill all of them.
Which they spawn really far away. There's really no good way to clean these guys out. Even on hard, this takes forever, even with Magnify, because there's 5 on either side. And Magnify only hits 3 enemies. So we'd have to use like Magnify Wind and hope they're all right next to each other or something like that.
Yep. So my first setup was I would use Yuffie's Windstorm to gather them. And then the second was do I remember? I do this differently now, but no, that's not right. That's not right. It might be
Easy's a little bit easier because you just take care of the 3 troopers to the left, and then you get a stagger off of 3 staggers off of them, and then just limit the elite. And then you let Tifa take care of the rest.
But basically, that's one of the problems with this setup was Arrow can miss the 2C soldier. That's what happened there. And it doesn't work. So what I do now is we hit this guy to pressure him. That way he can't use an AP ability. And then Barrett shoots them. Actually, I'm not in the right thing.
This may look like really slow and risky, but it saves a bunch of time.
Wow.
Because having to fight the extra 10 enemies that take forever to get over here is super nice.
Yeah, right. So this is how I do it. Now I remember.
Yep.
I'm not practiced up. We arrow him and we arrow this because, like I said, if it misses either of them, that would be bad. So if you have 2, well, you're not going to miss. And we stay locked on.
Yeah, we're just trying to group them together so the power cleave kills everything.
Right. Basically that. Unfortunately, it's not enough damage on normal. So what we have to do is you need a little help from Tifa. And then that lets you just go forward and continue on, right? Instead of these. I don't even know what happens if you go over here.
I don't know. Maybe they turn into a fight? Yeah, I've never bothered to go over here.
Okay,
I guess it does trigger a normal fight. There's like a mega potion on one side and like a turbo or a high ether on the other, but you can buy them at this point.
I'm going to show you Yuffie's real ability here.
Oh, this fight. Windstorm clears. I was using Fire Magnify because that's like what we used to do in Remake. I was like, oh yeah, Fire Magnify will clear this fight real quick. Then I was like, wait a minute. Windstorm.
Don't overdo it.
We get the ATB, we go in the middle, we Windstorm, get some more, and we just spam it. And they're gone. Obliterated. That's her real use.
Fights like that are the reason why Windstorm is so good. There's a couple of other places you can use it too, but that is like number one, the best place.
I want to check if I have crystal gloves. I did write down something, but do I have it? I don't. Okay, I can't demonstrate it. Crystal gloves gives you essentially the same thing as unbridled. I'll just explain it.
Unfettered Fury, yeah.
Except it's a magic. It makes her. It goes based off her magic stats, which is bad, but you can learn it. And if you use the second level of it, it's just like regular unbridled. The first unbridled is 40 keep. The second is 60 keep, and the second move as well, Rise and Fall and Rage and Fall, are 60 keep. Now these are magic based, but what you can do is you can do a cancel. It's I think it's the dodge, and you hold the button, and that lets you do like the big double punch with crystal gloves. And this would give you a ton of ATB, and you can kind of just do this animation cancel over and over for ATB. And so that's the unfettered spam. Unfortunately, I guess I don't have it here to demonstrate, but it's basically like that, more or less.
They're two slightly different animations, and I think they come out a little bit slower, but they're interesting. The one use that I found was like you use unfettered into unbridled. It converts both stocks into unbridled, and it counts for 2 out of your 3 ATB Skillmaster, your Skillmaster activations.
Oh, right.
So it's really good at looping Skillmaster because you get both your ATBs back. So all you have to do is like throw in a Sonic Boom, Braver, something else in there to make 3. It's really neat. It's one of those like this will probably be useful in hard, but not so much in any percent. The ATB material are very strong, but they're very hard to get. So you're only going to see them
obnoxious to get compared to Remake, where it was like stagger this amount of enemies.
A couple of Chadley missions, very easy. Yeah. Like the most annoying was like getting 3 refocuses, I think.
Yeah, that was for ATB assist, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so here. We have a party. We don't really care. We have something called Combat Savior. I just want to explain it. You see Red caught us. If we get knocked away... Oh, he's pressured. But if we get knocked away, any of the guys will catch us. I think it works with Tifa as well. The book actually has an entire paragraph dedicated to this, and it's in Japanese, so it's a lot. I don't fully understand it, but it says something about ATB as well. I have no idea what that does.
One thing I noticed is like Savior, it may function like guarding does in easy, because blocking in easy builds a ton of ATB for like no reason. I think ATB stagger or ATB block is like added naturally in easy mode, so maybe it functions something like that. Or when it's activated, they build some like ATB. Things like this are very hard to test because like you have to get hit, so you have to like set up a scenario where you're going to get hit reliably. So that you can like test it against something else with no variables.
So there is a way to do this.
I love the whirlwind to pull them in. It's so nice.
Yep. So the idea is to try to get both. They designate their target that they go on at 1 second after phase 2. So the thing that I do is, well, we're not using red, right? So we just have a red go tank it. Get out of the way. I pull her over in case they do start sparks, right? Because Yuffie will actually just run into it, and then we just blast them. And if things get out of hand, like red's being annoying, we can just Windstorm to group them up. And as soon as we have enough, switch over to Sung, blast them.
I just love that her stats are so ridiculous in a lot of these scenarios that the weakness really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just use a Gauss spell, problem solved.
Yeah. So we did explain that is very powerful. Even warded, it's half damage, I think, and a third of the MP or something. There is one bug that they fixed. I don't know if they fixed it in Intergrade, but in Remake, when you would use a warded spell, the warded spell, if it would put you at 0 MP, would not go off. You would not get it. It would just wouldn't go off. Where am I going?
I don't know if I've ever gotten into that scenario, but it probably sticks.
It was like a problem. I think I can't remember. Like Hell House was you had to really manipulate your MP, and I had like 3 different ways of doing that fight based on my MP.
I'm so used to hard where it's like we very, very, very carefully measure our MP, and mainly like now a lot of the damage is off the back of synergy, because synergy actually costs nothing. So a synergy duped in Arcane Ward is actually just 1 MP because it rounds up, I think. So you get 2 tier 1 spells, which like that apps gets melted by that. There's a lot of bosses, but the problem is keeping the AI on the ward, because Aerith really loves jumping forward. Yep. So you basically have to stun lock her with tier 1 spells.
They like to roll out. You can reliably get the characters to do shortcuts. For example, we did touch on it earlier, but they don't like to do the shortcuts. It gets grayed out. You can reliably do it if you call them over with the synergy ability, and then you tell them to do their ability. That's like the only way. With Aerith, she gets stuck like attacking, right? She does her full attack chain, and awful. You try to tell her to do something, she won't do it. She's just the most notorious for it.
It's one of the biggest criticisms that I would levy at Rebirth. Remake, the AI would hop forward, but it would do the shortcut you told it to immediately. Everything else would be dropped, and I'm not quite sure why they reworked that, but they decided to. It was a very awkward choice. That's kind of why I was saying earlier that like between Remake 16 and Rebirth, you could make the perfect game, because there are some things. Like 16, one of the things I point out as being one of the best is if you get hit before you use a move, you either don't get knocked out of the move if you're still using it, and it goes off anyway. But I mean, the cut and keep is kind of integral to the game. But if you get hit before, it doesn't start the cooldown. So ideally in Remake, you wouldn't get stripped of your MP and ATB when you get hit. That's the idea, but that might be a little bit too broken. But
I know a lot of people complain also about the shortcuts from Remake when it went to Intergrade, where the roll, like people didn't like that at all. It messed up a lot of strats, but all you have to do is really adjust. Fight it.
Yeah, you have to learn to compensate for it. It's just a literal. It's something that shouldn't be there, but it's a skill issue moment, unfortunately, where you have to just get used to compensating for that. The benefit is there's a lot of good combat fixes in Intergrade. Like, I'm just not going to list them all since we're talking about Rebirth, but for the most part, the other main thing is Intergrade loads in like 1.5 seconds if you're on console, versus like 10 to 15 seconds.
Or at the end of the run, it'd be like a really long one. Here we have like kind of some randomness to loads. It's unfortunate. There is some variance. You might lose 3 seconds here or there to a load. I can't do anything about it.
I'm hoping the PC version is optimized well enough for that, or that the PS5 Pro fixes that. It's unfortunate that it'll be like, well, you either have to buy a different version of the game for the computer, or you have to buy a $500 console to speedrun something.
I know, right? It's just so you could see you lose time for basically no reason. So you kind of just accept it. I would assume that throughout the run it'll even out. You'll get some good loads, you get some bad loads. You just learn to live with it. Yeah.
Honestly, to me, it taking a little bit of time to load is nice. It may seem like a really weird take, but being able to grab your water and take a sip, or like scroll your notes, or just kind of disengage for a second, is really underestimated, because when you have to engage the entire time, it gets very tiring.
Yeah. Also, one thing I didn't really point out, like with Remake and Rebirth, the biggest thing here is combat, right? Combat, if you make a mistake in combat in this, it's not as devastating. In Remake, things were quite optimized, but also like
everything depended on ATB. You had no good way to build it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
if you didn't maintain the ATB loop, especially in hard mode, you needed to loop your ATB with assist, skill master, in some cases block. but like looping A to B was incredibly important. In this, you have so many options to building A to B, like having the team attack. As overtuned as it is really helpful that you have that high damage and high A to B building option, so that you're not like, well, it's game over because my braver got eaten.
Yeah, because like in remake, like for example, if you were to try to like on normal, we had to like breach, Genova at the end, and then we had to do stuff. But if you had your input in, for example, then like Cloud would do like a braver or something, and then you don't have breach because it was 2 ATB. Here it's 1 ATB, which is nice. It's used in like one fight. Unfortunately, can't really get around to dropping it against Forgotten Specimen because the boss would do reflecting while you're doing only magic, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a lot more free flowy combat. You're not punished as hard for a mistake. The run's not instantly over. You don't lose like a minute, It's like, okay, well, just improvise.
Honestly, it's really interesting because I never really engaged with the team attacks outside of like the chain abilities where you actually go into the menu. I didn't even interact with them. I tried a couple of them. I'm like, these are trash. And like all of my casual playthroughs and hard mode, I did not use them at all. And like once I started using them, I was like, this game is way different. Because if you want a hard experience, don't use team attacks. That will change the difficulty level of this game massively.
Yeah, those synergy abilities, they're used here and there. Usually it's like the pressure, sometimes for damage, or sometimes like against for like Red Dragon, for example, is a great one. If it's hard to get the damage to finish the boss. If you make a mistake, you can catch the boss before he flies away using like Relentless Rush, and hopefully you get enough damage out before he flies away at that point, So it's kind of like just used as a backup for a lot of fights, but some fights it's used for pressuring. Aniran, Zalem, used on. I use it for Genova just for damage there, if I think about it.
I mean, the other cool thing too is like it allows you to set up Berserk, and it allows you to use Sonic Boom for like a buff, or normally casting Bravery and Faith, and then you have a follow-up attack even though you're out of ATB at this moment. So you're not like, I'm all buffed up. Now I'm just gonna hit him with normal attacks. Whee!
Yep, it does scale with that. So the combat is quite in depth. I think it's very much a plus. Just some things are a little overtuned, some things are a little weaker. Just a balance issue. It might be from lack of time for testing or something like that. Because like Remake, for example, Remake was, if I recall, even that was delayed, right? I think it was when it on its release.
Yeah, they threw it to CyberConnect 2, then they took it back, which delayed it a few years. Then I want to say they delayed it again. And I would imagine it's probably because they wanted to shift to PS5, and I would imagine Sony's like, no, this got to be on the PS4. So they're like, okay, I guess we can make it work.
I think it's if they're like doing stuff to make the game better, I'm fine with delays, right? I'd rather not have like a buggy mess. A lot of people, they just get mad at that stuff, but whatever.
I would rather have a solid game on launch than a bad experience sour my taste on the game for the whole time.
First impressions of everything.
Yeah, because with 16, I played it on graphics mode because I heard the 30, it was consistently get 30. If you put it on frame rate, it would vacillate between like 40, 50, and 60. So it would just jitter all the time. And I'm like, I'll take graphics.
I couldn't play graphics, not on this either. Even though, funnily enough, I ran Remake so much, and that was 30 FPS on base game.
It's a no-go. Honestly, I did speedrun a little bit of it while I was learning in graphics mode. The problem is I think all the games take inputs on the frame rate. So if you're running it at the higher frame rate, you have a much less likelihood of getting your inputs eaten. That's the main issue. That
was the big issue with base Remake, was your input would just drop.
It's even weirder on PC, because if you run it at a high frame rate, I think it eats some of the frames and attacks. So like... triple slash, if you use it in like the reactor, which I do in hard mode, it won't reach all three of the enemies, and it loads faster at 120 frames, but like spells seem to go quicker. Physical, like triple slash, just doesn't go as far. It's super weird. And like once I realized it was consistent at a higher frame rate, it would always whiff. I'm like, I'm not doing this. We're going back to the PlayStation. I've had enough of this nonsense.
I have two more things I want to show.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yep, that will wrap up. There was one that I wanted to end on, and I should be able to set it up on one of these fights. But the reason I went through all this story stuff, ignore that stuff. Who cares what happened here? This is remake speed runs back to the reactor, right? Oops, I have to reset.
I mean, yep. We're back to the reactor. The first 10 minutes, the remake speedrunners love. First and only love.
It's worse here, though, I think, because, like, at the beginning of the run here, you know, you have the fire stuff and the limping, and it really sucks if you have to reset, so we try not to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas Remake, it was really just all action. So the reason I went through all
Chapter 1 was
is,
a hot start, yeah. Go ahead.
I wanted to explain, though, we talked about the Grand Horn upwarp and that tech earlier with the red circle going dark. Well, here, you're forced into a battle. And in Chapter 11, we talked about how you can get rid of these triggers. Well, this trigger is now gone. But, oh, please don't troll me. That panther can be a big problem. Nope, we'll have to do it twice.
I was about to say, you, like, cut halfway across the room and almost got that skip, and I was about to get real mad. Because I usually have to reset this a few times, too.
Go. So this door is locked. But as you can see, what we're going to do is we're going to go in here.
The fact that now, this works really is so silly.
This is a point of no turn. You can't go back through here. We are through the door. This is a skip. We don't have to worry about Aurora to pull that dragon down. And we're just through it. Just like that.
I mean, you wouldn't go back anyway, so luckily it's pretty much useful. There's like no scenario where it's a negative.
That's not the right one. That's DG. Hold on, this one. We'll have to get through this encounter real quick.
The cutscene is the longer part. Oh man.
I want to demonstrate something. So,
Easy has Yuffie in the party here, so the damage is awful. Go ahead.
So, what you could do is, in this game with Focus Strike, I did it there, but if you get a dodge with it, I think it's 0.4 second window. Actually, it's quite long, or maybe it's less. I don't remember. But if you dodge, you get your ATB refunded with her. But the thing you can do is you can do dive kick. No. It's what is it? It's roll. So roll into focus shot.
Yeah, it's a really awkward combo.
Wait, how do you do the combo?
Come up. I think you said it was like dive kick into focus strike.
I do it against the second to last boss, and I just do it without thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's focus strike into dive kick. You normally couldn't do that. You do a roll dive kick. But what you can do is you can dive out of focus strike. That's new to this game. That was not there in any version of the game.
Unfortunately, like dive kick or focus strike is awful. Because it used to be in the previous game, you would get the refund when the hit lands. So linking focus strikes was really, really powerful. It was really good for ATB assist activations.
Apps, we used it a lot.
You could cancel it, but you would never cancel it because you wanted the ATB assist activation.
Yep, exactly.
Focus strike actually normally won't trigger ATB assist in Remake. You have to focus strike, punch, and then focus strike again to get it to trigger ATB assist. It's so weird. But because you get the ATB back, you leave with a full bar and an ATB assist, which is like 900 ATB on or 600 ATB on everybody.
And here we don't have any of the ATB stuff. We don't have ATB stagger. You could try to get it in Junon segment Chapter 4. We don't have ATB assist. We don't have first strike. All we have is ATB boost if you wanted.
Which this is one of the different things with New Game in general. Like, it depends on what things you pick up. So the routing is less strict on what order you're doing attacks in and what attacks you're going to use. In hard mode, you have to figure out this grand loop of things that you can link together to, like, trigger assist, trigger skill master, so that you can just loop your ATB and spam the high damage attacks efficiently. It's a really cool gimmick of hard mode, but it takes a lot of work to get there. And you end up having to change very often because you find that they're bad.
Okay. I can save. I'm making a save because we're gonna do this twice. I don't know what that save is. We're gonna do this twice. This will be. Yeah, okay. I will show this one first. I was thinking about what to show. So the goal here is I don't have APMP. We're gonna get some characters killed here real quick, and hopefully I don't die. I should be able to handle this. Okay, we should be fine.
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
Game, please.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's too much. Okay, that's too much. I got to kill that first. What I want to show off is what's called a backline command. This is not something most people would find casually, I think. It's one of those things where I never knew this casually.
I found it on my hard mode run on the Red Dragon. That's the only reason I knew it existed.
Mm-hmm. It does have a practical application if things go bad on one of the fights. However, that fight would be extremely spoilery, so I'm not going to show it there. The fight in question for you, Sid, is the wings. The wings phase if things go bad, because the fight is so long in many phases that it counts the 1 minute. So here, if we have 1 minute has passed, you can't have this open. It's just gotta be 1 minute fight time. If you have this open, it slows it down, and you're in dire shape. So characters have been removed from battle, petrified, dead, and you're in crit basically. It's like basically a Hail Mary. So we need to get to low life here without dying. I don't know if I can do that. This thing is a beast, by the way.
Yeah, the turtle is an absolute nightmare. Yep, there it is.
No, not yet. I think not enough time has passed. There we go. Backline commands. So this means that we can go into synergy. We press triangle, and we can use somebody's synergy, even if they're not in the party, unless they're pulled out of the party. Wait, can you do this? I guess you can. You can use people not even in the party. So we could like say, oh, we want Overfang, and now we actually have the other party members here helping out.
It's a really nice thing, but most people don't run into that circumstance. I ran into it casually on one of the harder fights.
It's too restrictive. You need that 1 minute, and you need to be in a dire straits.
Speaking of 1 minute, have you ever looked into the extras menu? There's actually an option to reduce the time slow while in the tactical menu. It's the on paper, it's like, yeah, this is a good challenge run. I messed with it. Don't do that. Don't do it to yourself. It's not worth it.
Oh, is it that bad?
You just end up handicapping yourself and not having fun with it. I think I cut it to 3 out of 6, and you just got to be good. Maybe it might be okay for a challenge run or some sort of donation incentive or something, but since you rarely go into it in a speed run, I doubt it would be that big of a deal. Extras menu is kind of nice though, because it gives you auto pickup. Okay.
Last thing I want to show. Now, normally we walk through here. We have to do this big old slow walk under the enemies, but it's the enemies. They may as well be. What we can do is you can hop along here, and you can just hop through this. You skip all the slow walking. I wish we had this in more segments.
Yeah, and you move super fast.
And you can actually hit the cutscene for the boss before this even finishes. And if you retry the fight, they're still trying to talk.
Yeah, the fact that you get to skip all of that slow walking is super cool. You got to be careful with the first few because you'll get locked into the wall. Super weird.
We have a lot of movement tech like that, little hops. There's so much optimization. There's still a lot to do in the run between different routes and moves and looking into everything. It's just a lot. There's a ton to this game, and even in an any percent run, even though it's progressive what you get, there's a lot to look at still. Yeah, that's all I wanted to show.
I guess I'll let you have your exit stuff, and then I'll play us off. You have anything else you want to say before we go?
It's hard to get into the runs at first because it's a lot to learn. I feel like Remake was also like that, probably from an outsider perspective. Not to me, because, I'd been routing them since the beginning. But, just take it one boss at a time. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of stuff, but they're fun runs. There's plenty of breaks in the runs. There's 1-2 minute breaks here and there throughout the run.
Yeah.
If you need breaks, it's not bad at all.
It's pretty well balanced.
It's a very high actiony game. Not as slow as Remake, but if anyone wants to pick it up, it's really not as bad as it seems.
It's a bit longer, but like the balance between the two is very good, where like there's enough action and slow points where you can kind of take a break or go use the restroom because X, Y, or Z is happening. It's a great speed run. There's
still plenty of room for routing. There's different categories, that are completely different. Easy, you don't just take your normal starts to easy and do that. You've got to really play for easy around the special way that things scale and stuff. And even in some regards, easy can be more difficult than normal in some fights where it's harder to, oh crap, I'm going to stagger. We can't do the fastest things, stuff like that.
You really strip down in easy, and it can handicap you in some fights that make backups very difficult. So you put yourself in a really weird circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people haven't, like New Game Plus has been, especially hard, has been something a lot of people worked on. I don't think there's been many full runs of it, or people are still routing to this point, which I want to get into after the relay.
Yeah, it's still early days. This game came out in February, but there's so much content. I mean, even I didn't even get around to a run until May. We're still finding things. I showed things that don't have any use right now, but maybe one day they do, especially for maybe glitchy stuff, out of bounds stuff. That would be cool, that we could actually have, different categories. You could have the 90%, you could have the no major glitches if you wanted, or glitchless, whatever, right?
Having that defined difference is kind of nice too, because it also shores up the run and shortens it.
When it comes to PC, I'm sure a lot of more people will pick it up and look at it. It's just being PS5 exclusive. Unfortunate for now.
I'm looking forward to that, so that we get more people to enjoy the game.
It's a high skill based game, that's for sure. If you like that.
Yep.
And that's all I wanted to say and show off.
Okay.
This one.
So thanks, Closetowar, for dropping by and showing off all this neat stuff. I wanted this to be a kind of pilot with the random encounters. If you guys like it, we will have the aim to have one of these every month. And slowly but surely, we're going to kind of get a little bit better at shepherding these and kind of getting the show set up. But if you have any feedback, there is a channel for that in the Discord for side quest content feedback. And if you guys like it, please keep dropping by. We should be having a 2 to 3 hour showcase every month of a new game. Thanks everybody for dropping by, and that will be it. Have a good one.
Thank you.